call this meeting to order at exactly 1 o'clock. And it's really nice to see this charming council in front of me, and they all look healthy and happy and ready to get through an agenda that I think pretty soon we're going to have wheelbarrows to get in here with. So patience is going to be a necessary component today. So the proceedings of this meeting will be recorded and made available on the internet. If we could have the roll call, please.
Thank you. Mayor Clarkson, are you present?
I am.
Deputy Mayor Windover?
Yes.
Councillor Armstrong?
Present.
Councillor Franzen?
Present.
Councillor Lambshead?
Yes.
For staff, we have Donna Taggart, CAO Treasurer.
Yes.
Dylan Kosh, Director of Recreation and Facilities.
Present.
Steve Brockbank, Director of Emergency Services.
Present.
John Izinga, Chief Building Official.
Present.
Tiffany Lai, Planning Administrator.
Present.
Adele Arbor, Temporary Manager of Building and Planning.
Present.
Ann Ruth, Deputy Clerk.
Present.
Lynn Holtz, Economic Development Officer.
Present.
Kelsey Carpenter, Waste Management Public Works Coordinator.
Present.
And Chris Jones, Planning Consultant.
Present.
And Jesse Clark, Director of Corporate Services Clerk is present.
Thank you. Now we're going to have a moment of reflection, and specifically I would like to speak to the passing of Jack Clark. Jack Clark was 95 years old, a very, very long-term resident of the Cavendish area, responsible for the construction, part of the construction of the original Cavendish Hall. On a personal level, when I first got involved in politics 12 years ago, I was in as councillor at large and knew very, very little about the different parts of the municipality. In the first meeting that I went to in Cavendish, Jack Clark and his wife were two of the people he came up to make me feel welcome. And I know that they extended that welcome to anybody else that ever entered that facility. So we've lost a great person for the area, and they have also lost a great family member. So let's not confuse the two. So he will be pleasantly and fondly remembered by everybody that he's been in contact with, and I sincerely pass the condolences on to his family. So if we could have a moment of silent reflection, I'd appreciate it, please. Thank you. Now, we also have another really pleasant task, and that is thank you to the hardworking volunteers for the Trent Lakes Heifer Fund. Thanks to the generous donations provided by our community, they were able to deliver 27 hampers to those in need. Two young people donated $10 by emptying their piggy banks. There were also some cottage, I think the Ratepayers Association in Cavendish put a fair amount of money into the food bank as well. So we have had a great amount of people who have helped with this season. But just because the season has passed, let's not forget that this is very, very ongoing, and that we will be some time before the need of these services diminishes. But meanwhile, let's certainly appreciate the people who've contributed in all sorts of ways at this point. Now, at this point, I have to remind council members of the obligation to declare any pecuniary interest they may have. In this case, it's myself, and I need to recluse myself from all discussions that have to do with the short-term rentals. So during these deliberations, I will be leaving the chamber and will not be taking any further conversations with anyone concerning short-term rentals. Now, if we could have a motion to approve the agenda, and we're going to change that way of doing it now, where we're going to do a motion by hand signal, correct? So we no longer have to have Jesse call us all the time. So if we could have a motion, and that would be Councillor Lambshead, And are all in favor? Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
We have a second.
We need a seconder for that emotion. Deputy Mayor Windover. And could we have the vote, please? That's carried. Thank you. It'll take us a while to get onto this. It took us a while to get onto the other way. So bear with me here. We need to adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting for December the 15th and the statutory public meeting also of December the 15th. We need one motion to adopt all the minutes. Deputy Mayor Windover, and a seconder would be Councillor Franzen. And if we could have the vote, please. Okay, and that carried. Are we getting this okay?
Yep, you can just ask all in favor when you're ready to conduct the vote.
Okay. Minutes and boards from committees, or from minutes and reports from committees and boards. We will now have a representation from Dave Reid, Chair of Economic Development Advisory Committee, to present the 2021 work plan and budget requests. Please unmute your audio and or share your camera and make your presentation. You will have 20 minutes, and I will ask council that all questions are saved until the end of this presentation. Okay, are you ready, Dave?
Yes, I am. Can everyone hear me?
You can.
Thanks, Madam Mayor and council members for having me here this afternoon, and good afternoon to all of you and to all of the staff. Just before I start, I also wanted to thank council as a whole for their support, certainly during my term here and prior to, as well as CEO Taggart, Clerk Jesse Clark, the Deputy Clerk Ann Ruth, and EDO Lynn Holtz, as well as all the residents and local businesses that support our communities. And I also wanted to recognize the current work, the work of the current EDAC members, the past chair Neil Buchanan and the previous EDAC members, as well as PCAD, Trailtown, Parks Canada, and OMAFRA, all for their help and support in us being able to provide advice to council from economic, through an economic lens. Before I get started, I just wanted to preface quick sort of how we've been looking at things, certainly since the time I have been involved. I think I can certainly say I feel very fortunate to live here, and I think that the natural beauty, peace, and the abundance of recreational opportunities in our area is very unique. We certainly aren't an area seeded for growth through official plan at upper levels of government, nor through the sort of infrastructure that we have or the difficulties we have for providing and building infrastructure in the area. Looking at what we have in Trent Lakes through the lens of economic development, and certainly the impact it has on taxation to the residents and recreational residents, hospitality industry, and the businesses in our community, we try to find ways that we can actively support the business here and attract other right-sized business into the area. So with that in mind, I know there's been a lot of emphasis on the Buckhorn area, and that's primarily because we don't really have a nodal area, but that is the closest thing we have to a core area. And it is also on the Trent Severn Waterway, which provides a potential economic advantage at which attraction and accessibility, which has been started and provided through council in that area, allows the opportunity for businesses to capture tourist money in the area, as well as tourist investment and funds in the area, as well as those of local residents that can utilize current services and access to them, and also future services and events that will be created through those attractions and access. If you look to the first page here on the review of 2020, I just wanted to go over just very briefly, some of the challenges we have encountered this year going forward, so council can respectfully have the opportunity to understand where we are with things and where we hope to be able to go forward on to provide further advice and work on requests from council. Obviously, COVID is an impact on local business and residents in trying to find support and charting recovery. That is an ongoing issue, obviously. Identifying businesses, location and type. I'm sure council is aware of the difficulty in such a large geographical area. with so many remote people that it has been difficult to identify those things, but that is ongoing through PCAD. Connecting businesses throughout the municipality for discussions, concerns, successes, customer links, and ideas. We've worked towards that. We'll talk about that somewhat throughout this presentation today. And the last challenge is actually being able to capture that tourist and area resident income to support the local businesses. The actions to date that we've placed on our presentation today include the establishment of a standard approach to problem solving for the committees. Thanks to Gabby Dragomir of PCAD for some support in that area. We are going to do more of that going forward in 2021. Working on partner relationships with Parks Canada, OMAFRA, and Trailtown and others. Review of the 2019 and 2020 work plans. Being new and with some of the items that you're going to see on the budget today, that was probably one of the larger focuses, and I'm hoping that we'll be somewhat unburdened from those going forward in 2021. But it was necessary, as there were a number of items that had been overlooked or not committed to during those processes, and being that those processes are excellent, in my opinion, and very valid, we wanted to make sure that we had a thorough snapshot of what was available left in those. And that leads us to the next item, which is identifying the status of the green space land streetscape and the CIP process items, and determining which ones to move on in 2021. We then developed the 2021 wish list items. We also performed a buckhorn walkabout to further establish what things had been done to this point, hadn't been done, or may need to be done or recommended to be done in order to meet the intended improvements to accessibility and attractiveness to that area. A number of our committee members have attended virtual seminars either through CRRF, OMAFRA, or the Innovation Cluster. I must say some of those have become very valuable going forward. And support in principle for the potential new community development with economic advice on applied measures. We've also participated in the development of the short-term rental bylaw, and we've had to replace one of our members, and a special thanks to Tom Conlon, who had given his time for a long time, but he had to leave for personal reasons, and thereby we added not only one but two members to the committee. And we much appreciate that because we have a lot of work in front of us, and look forward to utilizing the excellent new members, Jerry Forrestal and Raina Taylor, who have joined us. Some of the accomplishments that we've had this year, and again, COVID has made things difficult, but not impossible. And I certainly, I'm looking at it as a time of opportunity. I think that there's a window here for us to be able to look forward at capturing more and creating more accomplishments within the municipality. We created a Facebook page for Municipality Trent Lakes businesses called Trent Lakes Business Page, and that's thanks to Gabby, Lynn, and Christine Brickman for that. We just spoke on it again yesterday, and moving forward, we'd like to expand the reach and use of that page. But we have a footprint now, and that is something that with the growing ability, hopefully through EORN and the support for rural internet, will make a much better connection between businesses in more remote areas of our municipality, linking them with businesses in the remainder of the municipality and elsewhere. There is some CIP support for a local business upgrade, and that's something, again, we've talked about going forward, that we need to promote that better for better use from opportunity for local businesses in the CIP area. The creation of an economic development officer position, and thanks to the CAO and council in supporting that position. I think having Lynn and a direct connection to other EDOs in the area is critical in support for council certainly being able to make good decisions and gather good information. So definitely a thank you from EDAC in regards to that. The development of the community pathway and accessible walkway, unfortunately weather prevented it from being finished, but I think this would be one of the single biggest accomplishments that has come forward that will assist the ability for businesses to capture income that specifically along the Trent Severn Waterway, but also anybody entering into the communities within the municipality of Trent Lakes can utilize these, and hopefully we'll be able to connect them further going forward. We've increased the parking area in Buckhorn Village. It's been a long-standing issue. Probably some more improvement is likely needed there at some point, but definitely moving forward on it. The Trailtown funding support, again, thank you. I think certainly from EDAC's perspective, Trailtown has quite the ability to be able to increase business traffic in through the Buckhorn area, and EDAC certainly supports that going forward. And then the roadside maintenance commitment, which thanks again to CEO Teggart and Council, moving that forward to Peterborough County. I found that a very unique and hopefully cooperative way of managing some of the detractors, shall we say, that were noticed along the roadside within the core area. So again, thank you for that. Looking forward, a number of items have come up for consideration. There's certainly nothing that we're presenting from an advisory perspective yet, but obviously ongoing COVID-19 effect on businesses, communities, and individuals, and the plans to seek support and regrowth. Some discussion has come up on an asset acquisition bylaw for the municipality, which is just again something that would be for discussion going forward. Whether or not we could advise on that, we'll have to wait and see the information we get. Some also discussion on a BR&E, the business retention and expansion process, and this could be critical going forward. Certainly when we look at being able to retain residents going through the process in youth into adulthood, as well as keeping businesses within the area, we definitely need a good database for that to go forward. We may get some additional information through the PRCAC study processes once they're vetted that may relate as well to programming and certainly access to some of the exciting things that we can do in regards to trails, etc. Also had discussions on economics of youth in our community, numbers, education, activity access, job training and opportunities. That's a very common problem throughout rural Ontario and rural Canada, and it's an area that EDAC is looking at because it actually does have a significant impact on small business abilities to operate in rural areas. Also looking at further building partnerships with Parks Canada, the BCC, the BDTA, GPED, Kawartha Land Trust, Ontario Parks, and the PRCAC. Going to further explore opportunities in business connectivity and explore business best practices with an emphasis on applicability to business in the municipality of Trent Lakes and surrounding areas. So when we look at the budget items that we're going to move forward here, I tried to give a little bit of a reasoning for the items specifically. I think there's been a lot of discussion on them. Certainly going forward into the budget for the following year in 2022, I'm hoping that we won't be looking as much backwards on things that have yet to be tabled, but moving forward on some newer items as well. So I think if we look at the budget items in an overall sense, as I spoke to earlier, we're looking to complete, and that is the attractiveness and accessibility items of the core area, the green space streetscape plan, and the community improvement plan. These are necessary components of improvement, and I can't emphasize that enough. We are a small community that is not going to have a lot of growth, and Buckhorn is the sort of only nodal center. So creating that attractiveness and basically creating memories so that people spread the good word and come back and have other people take advantage of the beauty that is here and some of the businesses that we have currently and hope to the services to grow into. I think that the improvement in this area is critical. When you combine that with the commitments to connect all corners of business in the municipality, ongoing and upcoming plans to work with local businesses and associations, the items defined in the EDAC 2020 work plan, as well as the items in the soon-to-be tabled PRCAC master plan, will provide businesses and residents of the municipality of Trent Lakes with a stronger economic and community profile. And I think the profile is an important component here going forward. The idea after completion of some of these things is to attract tourism by providing access, beautifying core access areas, promoting to provide things to see, do, learn, while creating memories that will be shared with potential future customers. When you're in the tourism and hospitality business, that's an important component. We want to attract local participation by improving business models as well as business types and event types as well as variety, so that we can also better capture and have residents utilize services within our own community, and so that they don't have to often leave and spend money elsewhere. So thereby creating those attractions, capturing tourism income for the local economy through the development of activities, events, retail essentials, and retail unique components, and also capture local area income for the local economy by providing meeting places, promoting essential businesses and services, activities, and valued events. So going forward, I've basically divided this into 4 sections. EDO Holtz will be speaking on the separate component in regards to Trailtown. So I'm only really looking at the 3 submission components as the chair of the Economic Development Advisory Committee. So submission 1 is purely an operational request under account 0156389130. The committee is recommending the same operational budget as 2020 to include 3 specific and 1 general item. The First Impressions, or FICE, the First Impressions Community Exchange Program. We are recognizing the importance of that and recommending that council support it going forward. We feel that as we sort of create more attractions and accessibility in our community, we are going to need to balance that against the views of other like-sized communities. And we have had significant discussion on this, and we have a commitment through EDAC to, if council supports us, to make sure that we do find a right or similar type community to be our exchange program. That has been told to me as a critical component of this. The second thing is, again, in the cooperative spirit and also providing education to committee members, EDAC would like to put forward the costs of, similar to the FICE, would be the use of a bus and getting, once COVID allows us to move forward with an EDAC and PRCAC group to go throughout the municipality to see areas maybe that some that are not familiar with, but also possibly look at some of the cooperative areas in which we can better understand and provide economic or recreational balance to. The third thing is just simply business cards. I don't think anybody on EDAC has a generic business card that we can provide to somebody if we're talking to anybody. So that was, we would also, minor cost there. And the last one is the standard advertisements, memberships, etc. And a clarification, which was well brought up by Councillor Armstrong in our own meeting the other day, the advertisements are very specific to, as such, to membership of EDAC, rather than anything that EDAC would be doing to promote something. And that's quite clear. So the amount requested in that fund for submission number 1 for operational is $8,000. Submission number 2 is under the community improvement plan. And I feel this is an extremely underutilized opportunity for the businesses in the area. And I can take some responsibility for this, but I do believe we have not made most of the core area businesses aware of this as support from their local council. But we're requesting the $35,000 amount, as well as whatever carryover is left in the account. And in speaking with CEO Taggart, I do recognize the number of 19,570 has been reduced since that point, I believe, by another drawdown for usage and support in the CIP. So the amount on that budget would be dependent on what the 2020 carryover is. But basically, we would like to be able to have the same plan and whatever monies are left in it to continue forward in supporting our businesses. And this is particularly important when we are starting to come out of COVID, because we have a window of opportunity right now to prepare for additional people moving to the area and utilizing our businesses. And if we can gussy them up a little bit with some of the other things that we're doing, or help them provide something functionally, I think it's very important that council support that. Submission number 3 is specifically the costed items or requests. basically through initiatives. I personally have a difficulty with this one just from going through other municipal budget processes. I know in talking to Director Kosh, I can imagine he would somewhat be confused by some of this. But what we've done is we've taken costing out of items that we identified as we're either a part of or could be a part of the previous initiatives that council has supported as items to create attraction or items that need to be addressed or finished in order to meet the intent of the previous initiatives. So when we're looking at those, each of these are an individual consideration, obviously, for council. There had been discussion on a place to take pictures within Odenang Park, and that was the discussion was on a Kawarth, a chair. We know that's being done in one other area of the municipality currently, and thought that a rather simple thing to support. Again, something that people can take memories of or show a picture of when they've arrived here, that they can take back and show potential future tourist customers. There was discussion on the viewing platform that was part of the Green Space Streetscape initiative. And we looked at just general costing of the couple of different types of platforms, primarily supported by wood, and felt that the $30,000 would cover the platform component and some construction measure. But again, leaving this to council for discussion on value to that. We think that there does need to be some form of an access point for viewing at the waterfront there. There's also reference to a gazebo in Odenang Park in the garden area. And so
Dave,
I'd like to,
Dave,
yes.
can I just hold you for a minute?
Sure.
Your 20 minutes are up, so I'm going to ask council if they want to hear the remainder of your presentation. So if I can see a show of hands, I don't think there's too much left, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, is that okay with council if we continue with this?
Thanks, everybody. I know this is dry, and I apologize for this, but I really wanted to get this through going forward into next year. It won't be more than 3 minutes here, I don't think. When we look at the items on here, the garden park and the gazebo are two focal point areas, and a number of partners that we have spoken to, particularly in regards to Parks Canada, have talked about that need to be able to have people assemble somewhere in that area, whether it be from the TSW or local residents. And that's why those two items are in there, and they've been roughly costed out again. And the last one was the gateway sign replacement in Buckhorn. We were kind of shocked. We did look into this, the costing for these things, but that sign, I personally went along with Christine Brickman to check it, and it is in very poor repair. So it is something that highlights entry into our area, in the Buckhorn area. So again, for consideration. I'll leave the submissions number 4 to EDO Holtz. So I can review quickly the work plan, or I can take questions on the submissions to council for budget.
I think right now we would like to have some questions from council. Do I have any questions from anyone? Okay.
All right.
Community improvement plan. Dave, I have a question for you. Maybe you can answer this and maybe you can't.
Okay.
We've got a couple of private residences that are in terrible, terrible shape. And I know that the one family especially that lives in the one, there's no way in hope in Hades that they can afford to do anything to it. Can any of that money be directed to a building that's in the hamlet? And is that a question for somebody else?
Well, I think it would be a question for somebody else, probably the CAO. I would have to know the specifics of it to see from an economic development perspective, like to look at it through that lens specifically. I definitely would have to say that we, in general, support obviously the improvement in the area. Some of that may be critical. I can't speak to that specifically, but I definitely can't speak to it from the legal or municipal support perspective. I think that would have to come from administration.
Another item that has come up that hasn't got involved in this yet But the Catch, which is the restaurant, the go-to restaurant in Cavendish, is putting a 60-foot addition on there, and they would like to put a portion of the building to tourist information, specifically to entrance to the park. So that will be something that gets filtered through economic development also. But it's a great outreach to take business opportunities out of the village and into some of the rest of the community.
I concur with that, Mayor Clarkson. One of the things I concern myself with is the vision that there's always the emphasis on Buckhorn. I think it's only from the small business capacity that we're seeing there. What we're trying hard to do is really determine and link businesses throughout the community. I think one of our new members is especially well versed in that. So I'm hoping that we can show outreach to that area too. I don't think they want development necessarily. I don't think most of us want that in general terms, but certainly from a term of support, the big issue, as everyone knows, is EORN and being able to supply consistent, regular internet and broadband. And that once that's solved, we will be in a lot better shape.
Okay, you've got another screen up here. It's a 2021 work plan.
Yes. So just quickly, I mean, I know I'm on a time over time here, so I don't have to go through each item specifically. What I can say is that moving forward, we are still keeping on track with the broadband issue. It's parked right now, but there are a couple of members that are keeping an eye on it. I was utterly shocked to find that there have been 8 previous attempts to improve broadband throughout the province. I had no idea. So I'm hoping that this one is going to prove to be successful. We're planning on developing an economic development and tourism strategy. That is going to be part of the brainstorming session that we hope to have coming up soon, if that does get approved. We are looking at item number 4, providing and improving the CIP. That's ongoing, as well as streetscape and the green space initiative and the gateway sign that I had already spoken to. Visual communication and signage, if we can get this brainstorming session, is an area where there's a lot of contention I'm aware of in regards to different types of signage, consistency of signage, and the location or density of signage. So I think it's an area where there's a huge economic development component. However, direction on from a planning perspective and what the county is doing is going to be necessary before economic development can certainly advise council in that area. But it is something we want to have an open discussion on and try and generate some solutions. Business practices model. I spoke about this during the short-term rental process, and I've spoken to it a couple of times in meetings. I think certainly where I come from in my municipal background, it really helped our municipality because it's known as a municipality of best practices, not just the municipality, but the businesses there. And I think that's something that going forward, we need to find a measure in connectivity for our businesses to have an understanding of what best practices are in their own area. And Anne, can you lift that forward a bit? Thank you. The youth roundtable discussions on, we've talked about that. I mentioned it earlier. That's going to be vitally important from a retention perspective within our community. I think programming coming out of our community centers is something that needs to be upgraded in that area throughout the community because if we want to have a balanced community later on in life, we're going to have other like-sized families here with children, and that's going to be a component. We're going to be requesting a FICE, which we've already talked about. The Around the Township tour, which we had talked about, and also clarify roles and responsibilities of the PRCAC and EDAC. You recognize the PRCAC is an ad hoc committee, but I did speak to Bob Terlavasi a couple times in November and early December, and there's a willingness on both parts to see once their master plan comes out that there are elements of that certainly where EDAC could be helpful of them, and maybe we could share resources on a subcommittees or whatever so that we're not duplicating things. We're not trying to get into the...
Okay, Dave, I gotta go.
All right, sorry guys, I know I can talk forever, but thank you for your time. And I hope this gives you something to think about. Much appreciated.
I think with the approval of council, I think what I would like to see is you come back in about 3 months with an update as to how the committee is functioning with its new members, because we have a lot of new people on there. At that time, we'll have a better vision in terms of what COVID's going to do, hopefully. And maybe we'll have a chance to have had some of these tours and things. But I think a quarterly update from economic development would be valuable. So if there's buy-in from the rest of council, and if you're okay with that, I think going forward, that's what I would like to see take place. But I also need to, at this point, thank you for the work that you've done. You took over a committee that was struggling, and along with vision and tenacity, you have moved it right along, and we're in a position now where it can really start to pay some dividends. So by a show of hands, would council like to see a quarterly report from the economic development? Anybody?
I think we get it as minutes, but
Okay.
I'm fine with anything. I'm fine with anything. Whatever council decides, I have no problem with. I just wanted to thank you for all the support, and looking forward to a continued beneficial working group amongst all of us and everyone in the town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. So do we need a motion to receive that report? Jesse?
Through you, Mayor Clarkson, motion to receive, and if council is supportive, to approve their work plan as well.
Okay. Do we have did you hear what Jesse mentioned? It's a motion to receive that report and approve the work plan. Councillor Armstrong? Motion?
Yes, I will make that. I will make that motion. Just one comment. Very good presentation. Thank you, Dave. But I guess to the chair, we do have quite a long agenda today, and I would ask that in respect of all of our presenters that we attempt to adhere to the time slot so that everybody has their full allotted amount to speak. And I know it seems rude to interrupt people when they've reached their limit, but it will allow us to get through all of them with equal respect.
Point well taken. Do we have a seconder, please? I'll second. Can we have a motion? Or we've got the motion. Can we have the vote, please?
I have to say all in favor because
Okay.
they need to know whether they're voting for or against.
All in favor of the motion? That's fair. Okay, Economic Development Advisory Committee, Parks, Recreation, Culture Advisory. And, no,
Sorry, you missed one. Go back, please.
I missed one. Oh, I'm sorry. Man, I missed you. I got told to speed things up, so I went right by you. Economic Development Officer Lynn Holtz is landscape and maintenance of gardens and flower baskets in Buckhorn. Lynn, would you like to speak to this, please?
Good afternoon, Mayor Clarkson and Council. Speaking through you, Madam Mayor, you have before you a report prepared on behalf of the Economic Development Advisory Committee. The Director of Recreation and Facilities attended an Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting on December the 7th to provide an update to the committee on activities and protocols for the care and maintenance of the landscaping and other plant features on the Downtown Community Improvement Plan area of Buckhorn. At that time, it was agreed by the committee that formalizing the care for the specific landscape features that are identified in the report would formalize those gardens and hanging baskets for the Parks and Recreation Department to develop a care and maintenance program for those features. And you have two recommendations, and that basically it is that, first of all, that council received the report from the Economic Development Officer on behalf of the Economic Development Advisory Committee regarding formalizing the landscaping and maintenance of gardens and the flower baskets in Buckhorn, and that council support the Economic Development Advisory Committee recommendation regarding the flower baskets in Buckhorn and all existing and future gardens as identified be included in the Recreation and Facilities Department 2021 and future work plans and budgets, including ongoing maintenance. If you have any questions, I would be very, very happy to answer them as best I can.
Okay, have we got questions? I have a comment. Thank you to Dylan and his crew. They took all the baskets down, cleaned them out, and stacked them. So they're ready to be planted next year, which will save on the cost because those baskets are expensive. Carol, you have your hand up. Councillor Armstrong?
I did not. Yeah, thank you. And through you, Madam Mayor. I don't know if this is a comment or part of the motion, but my understanding is that some of those gardens that we looked at on our walkabout, including the one near the library and the one at the corner, are actually on on county property, not municipal property. And so much like the roadside maintenance, I think we need to be careful about maintaining what is our property and making the request of county that they do the same with theirs, because I don't think we want to take on responsibility for property that the municipality does not own as a precedent.
Thank you for your question, and yes, you are correct. The garden at the library corner of George Street and Lakehurst where they meet, and it's kind of like an L shape, it may very well encroach on the road allowance for that county road. But I did get in touch with Peter Nelson and Doug Sequoia about those properties. And because it's within the community improvement plan that council has already approved, they don't have a problem with us basically doing improvements to those landscape features that are, because they already exist. And if we wanted to go forward on the Adam and Eve, then there might be a little stipulation. We would probably have to get a permit for the work to be done on that property. There's a little bit of a discrepancy about whether or how much of that corner, that vacant lot, would belong to the municipality and how much belongs to the county of Peterborough, because we're dealing with really kind of ancient property lines. But they had also indicated in writing that they also probably would not have a problem with that being developed. It's just if it ever gets to that point, they would probably want us to contact them as a courtesy and provide them with drawings of what's intended, and there would be a road occupancy permit that would be required for the road. And also we would, I think, have to also confer with any of the abutting landowners. I think that there's a private residence on one side. But the ones that are actually included in this report are no problem going forward at this point.
Okay, is that, does that answer your questions? Okay, so are you still prepared to make the motion then?
So yes, I will make the motion to receive the report. Sorry.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Franson, you have a question or you're seconding it?
I'm seconding it.
Okay, can we have the vote, please? Yes.
Sorry, to you, Mayor Clarkson, can I just have clarification? There was a bit of a tech glitch. Councillor Armstrong, were you just receiving the report?
No, I was going to, thank you, Jesse. I was going to receive the report and support the recommendations with the understanding that those are in fact municipal property.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're okay with that, Councillor Franson?
Yes.
Is there do we have a Councillor Lambshead?
I just have concerns about adding in there all future gardens, but I'm assuming it's future gardens that we've discussed.
Maybe I can clarify that at the EDAC meeting. The future garden was because at the time of the community improvement plan, the road for Adam and Eve and Lakehurst Road, it had not been realigned at that time. When they did the realignment, what has been created is a triangular piece of property between a private property owner and the Adam and Eve roadway. And so the Economic Development Advisory Committee has discussed perhaps a future development of some sort of a landscape feature and also maybe a walking rest point with benches there. And so that's why it's kind of future because it wasn't, it just wasn't there at the time that the community improvement plan was first adopted. But I think that's further down the road. We still have to see the completion of the county's construction that'll be taking place in Lakehurst and in through the downtown core of Buckhorn in 2021.
Through you, thank you very much.
Okay. So everybody okay with this? So could we now have a, can we have a show of hands in support, please? Okay, and that has carried. Economic Development Advisory Committee, December the 7th. Parks and Recreation Culture Advisory Committee, December the 10th. We just need a motion here to receive the minutes. Councillor Lambshead? Councillor Armstrong? Can we show the vote, please? All in favor? Councillor Franson, are you in favor?
Yep.
Okay, I've got to get your hands out here where I can see them, okay? Thank you, that is carried. Statutory public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act. I need a motion to suspend the regular meeting and a seconder. Councillor Lambshead, do I see a motion?
Yes, you do.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Please, somebody put your hand up.
Deputy Mayor Windover did.
Okay,
Yep.
I didn't see it. Okay, thank you, Ron. Deputy Mayor Windover. Can we have the vote, please? All in favor? Ron? Okay, thank you. You got to get used to this. You got to get it up here so I can see it. Thank you. Okay, I got you now. Thank you.
We just have to make sure we say the motion carried or not there.
I think I did. Did I not say that, Jesse? Maybe not. The motion is carried. Thanks, Councilor Lambshead.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, zoning bylaw amendment file. Tiffany, you're going to speak to these?
Yep, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. This is a public meeting under Section 34 of the Planning Act to consider an amendment to the municipality zoning bylaw B 2014-070. A notice of public meeting for today's application containing the prescribed information was circulated to all landowners within a 120-meter radius of the subject lands at least 20 days prior to the meeting. The notice was also mailed to all prescribed agencies, public bodies, and persons in accordance with the regulations. Anyone wanting to be notified of any decision from today's public meeting must send in a written request to myself, the planning administrator, or the clerk, and the notice of passing will be mailed to them, setting out the method and manner in which appeals may be made to the local planning appeal tribunal. Please note that if a person does not send in a written comment prior to the passing of the bylaw or make an oral submission at a public meeting, that person may not be entitled to appeal the decision. So this is a public meeting for file 1702 to consider a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Stephanie Sharp, planner from Marie Poirier, Planning and Associates, on behalf of Ontario numbered company for property with frontage on Bessie Avenue and County Road 36. The lands proposed to be rezoned were the subject of a severance approved on November 5th, 2019. The applicant has submitted the application for a rezoning to fulfill the condition of the consent approval. The consent application resulted in the creation of one new lot from the vacant lot fronting on County Road 36. That's illustrated on severed lot A and retained lot B. These severed and retained lots were subsequently severed for the purpose of facilitating lot additions for two lots fronting on Bessie Avenue, one of which is vacant and the other has a dwelling on it. There is a planning memo on the agenda from the municipality's planning consultant, Chris Jones, in support of the application. In support of the consent application, the applicant was required to prepare an environmental impact study. The study identified a preferred building envelope and also recommended that several areas on the severed and retained lands be rezoned from rural or rural residential to environmental protection. Staff received 2 comments from surrounding neighbors, both which have been circulated to council prior to the meeting. One was received by Mr. McLean with concerns about the reduced front yard, but his concerns have been resolved and he has withdrawn his letter. The second letter was received by Ms. Howard with concerns about the reduced buffer due to the removal of trees. She has inquired about increasing the side yard setback to be greater than 4.5 meters. The minimum side yard setback in the zoning bylaw is 4.5 meters, which conforms. And with the resultant 30-meter setback from the environmental features, it does not leave much room for the developable area if staff were to implement a greater side yard setback. So staff is recommending that council receive the planning report and defer the approval of the zoning bylaw amendment to allow for to allow staff time to draft a consent agreement to be prepared and then also brought before council at the same time as the zoning bylaw amendment.
Okay. Now I think this is where we receive the request for Ms. Howard to speak regarding this application. If you want to please unmute your audio and or share your camera and provide your comments, please. And I didn't pronounce your name here because I was afraid to even try. Is it Lahani?
It's Leanne.
Leanne. Okay.
Leanne, yeah. My parents do me for life.
Did they ever?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Leanne,
I was curious. Okay, if you would like to say this now, we will.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor Clarkson and members of council for allowing me to address my concerns. As mentioned, we are concerned with the proposed rezoning of Lot D, the size, shape, and of the developable area in proximity to our home. The way in which our home is situated on the lot in relation to the proposed development area would mean a future residence possibly on Lot D, which would be very close proximity to the front of our home. The development area is not really beside or behind, but would greatly impact the enjoyment of our property. The proposed developable area of Lot D and the environmental sensitivity of the entire property will require adequate site plan control measures and agreements to be in place jointly with Kawartha Conservation as well. Our concerns are that the proposed development could adversely affect the groundwater, increase risk of flooding, and affect our well possibly. It is a very well-treated area, and I have concerns of seasonal runoff and drainage. I also ask that you might take into consideration Section 4.1 of the Trent Lakes official plan that states directing residential development to existing residential areas to control the establishment of new areas. And Section 5.2.2 of the official plan, preventing urban development that shall not create strip development along public roads. Thank you for allowing me to address my concerns.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from council? Councillor Lambshead, have you seen this property?
Oh, yes, yeah, I've definitely seen the property. Yes. There is potential for runoff issues, but there is right now too.
Yeah,
and as you apply for a building permit, you have to be careful of those things. You need flood and water plans and things.
Okay, have we any other comments from council? Any comments from staff? Okay, we've heard all of our comments. Thank you. Pardon? They're not here. Oh, they are here? Okay. Apparently, I missed this. The agents, Maria Portier and Stephanie Sharp, will not speak to this application, but you're saying they will.
Through you, Mayor Clarkson, they are on the line, and I believe they're there to answer comments, or they may also make a presentation if they wish.
Are you on the line, and would you like to comment?
Yes, I'm here. It's Stephanie. As mentioned, I am the agent representing Roger Steffen and the rezoning application. I work for Marie Poirier Planning and Associates. Just to re-summarize what Tiffany has already mentioned, this application is pursuant to a condition of consent, which was approved. The consent applications B-32A, B-58-18, and B-5918 were approved November 28th, 2019. Subject to the condition of this rezoning application and a mitigation measures agreement, which will be entered into with the municipality. In support of this application, it's worth noting that our client had an environmental impact assessment prepared, and it was submitted in support of the consent application in 2019. Here today, the proposed is simply to rezone the resulting lots A and D from rural to rural residential, which is very consistent with the surrounding properties, and to also recognize those environmental constraints located on the lot, and to ensure the 30-meter setback is met through the cold water stream and the wetland identified. Similarly, lots B and C, which are fronting Bessie Avenue, will also have a portion of their lands rezoned environmental protection as recommended in the environmental impact study. As you can see on this sketch in figure 2 of the staff report, the rural residential zone is consistent with the zoning on the adjacent property, and any future development will occur within that small developable area shown on that sketch. This developable area has been very thought out and is respecting all the 30-meter buffer requirements for those environmental features. Additionally, we are requesting an exemption on Lot B to recognize a front yard setback of 4 meters. I'd like to take this time to clarify the discrepancy between the site plan sketch we have submitted and the application we submitted. I recognize that the site plan sketch notes 3 meters, but we are requesting 4 meters. This setback is consistent with the character of the development of the area, more namely the properties located to the west of Bessie Avenue across from Lot B. This decreased front yard setback is to allow for sufficient developable area while maintaining the required 30-meter setback from that significant wetland. As the agent, it was brought to our attention that letters of concern have been submitted, and we would like to address Leanne's concerns. She has concerns resolving around the 4.5-meter side yard setback. This setback is consistent with the setback that she is permitted on her property. If each lot maintains that 4.5-meter side yard setback, there would be a ample amount of vegetation of approximately 9 meters between their yards, providing a vegetation buffer between any development permitted. It is likely that the future owners of this land would also enjoy the same privacy that Leanne and her family have enjoyed, and will likely maintain that buffer. Additionally, as Tiffany mentioned, Colin, who is located at 47 Bessie, has retracted his comments and has made a that is proposed. We recognize that staff has recommended deferral in order to prepare the bylaw and the relevant agreements, bring forth the council at the same time. We think.
Stephanie, your audio has pretty near disappeared.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that dinging noise was, but I think it took over there. But in summary, we would just like to thank the municipal staff for their support in this application, and we'd be happy to address any additional comments or concerns that council may have at this time.
Okay, do I see any hands going up? Okay, seeing none. Okay, thank you for your comments regarding this application. You'll now be removed from the meeting and log back in if you wish to the remainder of the meeting. Now we've got a zoning amendment, file 2021 for Cowan. Tiffany, would you like to speak to this file, please?
Yeah, thank you through you, Madam Mayor. This is a public meeting for file 2021 to consider a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by property owner John and Paige Cohen for 2 properties located on Fire Route 34. The lands proposed to be rezoned were the subject of a severance approval supported by council on September 17, 2019. The amendment is required as a condition of consent to facilitate a lot line adjustment to correct an encroachment of an existing detached garage located on the property line. The property at 9 Fire Route 34 has a shoreline frontage of 30.44 meters and a lot area of 0.55 acres. The adjacent lot has a shoreline frontage of 33.48 meters and a lot area of 0.7 acres. This application is a condition of consent. The properties are currently zoned shoreline residential private access. There's a planning memo on the agenda from myself, the planning administrator, in support of the application. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the retained and benefiting land parcel from shoreline residential private access to shoreline residential private access with a special exception zone to recognize deficient lot area, deficient lot frontage for the irregular parcel. The zoning will also recognize an existing detached garage without an established primary use on the benefiting parcel, which is lot 2. I am recommending that lot 2 is placed in a holding zone. The holding provision will recognize an existing detached garage that was constructed approximately in 1960, as there is no currently primary use established on the subject lands. And then it will also prevent any expansion to the use, building, or structure or construction of accessory building until a primary use is established on the property. The application appears to be generally consistent with the PPS and the growth plan, and staff have not received any formal submissions on this application by any neighbors or agencies. Staff is recommending that council support the zoning bylaw amendment respecting 9 Fire Route 34 and adjacent southerly lands, and that further council directs staff to prepare a zoning bylaw amendment to be brought forward for adoption at a future council meeting in accordance with this report to include a holding provision for the southerly lands.
Okay, thank you for that, Stephanie. Do we have any comments from council? Yes, Councillor Limeshead.
Yeah, to me, that seems like good planning. The holding zone is important to me because you don't want to have a development of a land without a residence of some kind on it. So I think the holding zone is necessary. So I think it's good planning.
Good comment. Okay, we're going to move on to the bylaw amendment 2024 for Fraser. Again, Tiffany, please.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. This is a public meeting for file 2024 to consider a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Andrew Bain of One Stop Solutions on behalf of property owner Liddy Fraser for 2 properties located at 42 and 72 Fire Route 401. The property at 42 Fire Route 401 has a shoreline frontage of 100 meters and a lot area of 8.9 acres, while the property at 72 Fire Route 401 has a shoreline frontage of 71 meters and a lot area of 29 acres. Both properties are currently zoned environmental protection and rural. The applicant has submitted an EIS prepared by Cambium in support of the application. There's a planning memo on the agenda from myself in support of the application. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone lot 1 from environmental protection to environmental protection with a special exception to permit the construction of a detached garage and also an attached open air deck to the existing dwelling. The applicant will require relief from the 30-meter setback to the boundary of the wetland for the detached garage, and the proposed garage will be set back approximately 44 feet from the wetland. The applicant is also proposing a detached garage on lot 2 at 72 Fire Route 401. The Cambium report identifies that the proposed detached garage for lot 2 will be outside the 30-meter setback. Therefore, the zoning amendment will just update the zoning schedule to be more accurate, to accurately map the delineation of the wetland boundary. The application appears to be generally consistent with the PPS and growth plan. The applicant has hired Cambium in response to the environmental protection designation on the property. to evaluate the site and provide recommendations with respect to the suitability of the environmental protection designations and the presence of key hydrological features on site. Subsequent to this evaluation, the ecologists concluded that the environmental protection designation does not accurately represent the features present on the subject lands. The ecologist has recommended that through the amendment, the zoning schedule be updated to reflect the confirmed hydrological features on and adjacent to the site, which includes Silver Lake, unevaluated wetlands, and a watercourse. Since posting of the council agenda, staff has received a comment from KRCA with no objection to the application. So the council recommendation to request comments from KRCA is no longer necessary. Staff has also been in consultation with the owner and Cambium on the receipt of the revised site plan, but this will not be ready until at least the following council meeting. Therefore, staff is recommending that council receive the planning report and that further council defer the approval of the zoning bylaw amendment pending staff consultation with Cambium to review the submitted site plan and preparation of a site plan agreement and zoning schedule to reflect the findings in the Cambium's report.
Okay, thank you. I understand we have the applicants, the Frasers, are available. If so, would they like to please unmute their audio or camera and provide comments?
Hello, this is Stephanie Fraser.
Go ahead.
Yes, I don't believe that our representatives from One Stop are on the line. Am I correct?
I don't believe we've heard from Tiffany, but I don't think we've heard from anyone else.
Okay, that's perfect then. No, I believe that Tiffany's comments reflect accurately the situation that we found ourselves with our contractors and the documentation that hasn't yet been sent to you. I can confirm that my mother has been in touch with One Stop and Cambium and Tiffany so that we can rectify this situation at the earliest possible date.
Do we have any questions from ask Stephanie, any clarification on this? Okay,
No,
thank you for your, go ahead, Councillor Lamstead.
Well, I think it's important. There's probably a few more areas in our municipality where our wetlands designation or environmentally protected aren't that accurate. I think we've had a couple other instances, and it's nice to see that this is going to move forward, I believe, because it isn't really a wetland that they're concerned about. It actually is, I think. So, the thing I believe is the problem.
Oh, I'm sorry, you just broke up there. Could I get you to repeat yourself?
Yeah, I was just commenting on the accuracy of the wetland protected areas. Sometimes they're not accurate as to reality. They're just.
Are you saying they might have dried out a long time ago?
No, my comment is I think it's just inaccurate, and it was originally inaccurate. So this is a good way to solve that.
Yes, absolutely. What you're actually looking at is the conversion of a part-time cottage into a full-time house. And so the time has come basically for us to be able to make our house our home. And so getting everything updated seems to be the most, it's time.
Thank you.
Well, we can appreciate that. Are there any more comments? And if not, you're going to be removed from the meeting, but you can come back on and just listen to what's going on.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay, now we're doing the Bouchard one, file number 2025. Tiffany?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. This is a public meeting for file 2025 to consider a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Richard Wengel Architect Inc. on behalf of property owner Maurice Bouchard for a property located at 397 Fire Route 130. The property has shoreline frontage of 61.8 meters and a lot area of 1.62 acres. The property is currently zoned shoreline residential private access. The applicant has submitted an archaeological assessment prepared by Northeastern Archaeological Associates dated December 8, 2020 in support of the application. There is a planning memo on the agenda for myself in support of the application. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the subject lands from shoreline residential private access to shoreline residential private access with a special exception zone to permit the following: to allow an exemption from the regulation restricting expansions to and replacements of existing dwellings located in the water yard, to permit the construction of a one-story replacement dwelling resulting in increased ground floor area of more than 50%. The existing dwelling is approximately 50.83 square meters in ground floor area, and the proposed replacement dwelling will be 238.57 square meter, to reduce the water yard setback from 30 meters to 17.47 meters. The current setback to the existing dwelling is 16.1 meters, and also to recognize an existing boathouse. The application appears to be generally consistent with the PPS and growth plan. The zoning bylaw allows for the replacement and expansion of existing dwellings and structures located within 30 meters of the high water mark, as long as the enlargement doesn't further encroach into the 30-meter setback. Given the size of the property, the existence of structures for over 60 years and the permissions in the official plan, the proposal appears to be appropriate for the development of the property. Since the posting of the council agenda, staff received a comment from the neighbor to the west with no objection to the application. This comment was circulated to council prior to the meeting. So staff is recommending that council support the zoning bylaw amendment, and further that council direct staff to prepare a zoning bylaw amendment to be brought forward for adoption at a future council meeting in accordance with this the report.
Okay, we have the applicants here, Mr. Wengel, and I'm not going to try that one either. If you would like to unmute your audio and you can fill us in on what you would like us to hear about, and then we'll ask for comments from council, please.
Thank you. It's Richard Wengel, architect. We agree with the planning report. We believe it's a minor change, that it's a single-story dwelling setback on the existing, really on the existing footprint, and part of the issue for us in terms of its location is there's a hydro corridor that runs just in the front of our project, and we have to stay 15 feet back. So we have more of a linear design on one level as opposed to building it up on two, and a bit of a contemporary element to it, just in natural materials, wood, etc., just to blend in behind the tree. So we think it's fairly minor. I think we have support from the neighbors, and are happy to answer any questions if you have.
Okay, I'm turning it back over to council again. Anybody? I want to know who's going to clean those windows.
Not me.
Okay. Okay, hearing no comments. Again, you will be removed from the meeting, but you can log back in and listen to the remainder of the meeting. Thank you. Now, if I can have a motion to reconvene to the regular meeting, and I need a seconder. Motion, please. Councillor Lambshead, Deputy Mayor Windover. Could I have the vote, please? All in favor? All in favor, carried. Business arising from the statutory public meeting. Tiffany?
Yep, so for file number 1702, the recommendation was that council receive the planning report and to further approval of the zoning bylaw amendment to allow for the consent agreement to be prepared and brought before council at the same time as the zoning bylaw amendment.
Okay, can we have a motion, please? Councillor Lambshead?
Make that a motion, yes.
Seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Windover. And could we have the vote, please? All in favor? That's carried. Same thing, Tiffany, but for file number 2021 for Cowan.
Yep, for through you, Madam Mayor, for file 2021, staff is recommending that council support the zoning bylaw amendment, and that council directs staff to prepare a zoning bylaw amendment to be brought forward for adoption at a future council meeting in accordance with this report to include a holding provision.
Can I have a motion, please? Deputy Mayor Windover, Councillor Franzen, and could we have the vote? All in favor? That is carried. Okay, file for amendment 2024 for Fraser, please, Tiffany.
Yep, do you, Madam Mayor? So for file 2024, staff is recommending that council receive the report and further that council defer approval of the zoning bylaw amendment pending staff consultation with Cambium to review the submitted site plan and preparation of the site plan agreement and zoning schedule to reflect the findings in Cambium's report.
Okay, can we have a motion, please? Councillor Limeshead? Can we have the vote, please? All in favor? Hands up, please. That motion is carried. Tiffany, bylaw or zoning bylaw 2025 for Bouchard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, for file 2025, staff is recommending that council support the zoning bylaw amendment and further that council directs staff to prepare a zoning bylaw amendment to be brought forward for adoption at a future council meeting in accordance with the report.
Are you making a motion, Councillor Lamstead, or do you want to make a comment?
Yes, that is a motion, but I did not hear who seconded the other motion, the last motion.
Deputy Mayor Windover, I believe. Is that what you got? Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the mover in this one is Councillor Lamshead, seconder, Councillor Franzen. And could we have the vote, please? All in favor? Hands up. That motion is carried. Now, in your package, you have a presentation for Julie Ingram, and she is not going to be here today. That is moved to the February 2nd meeting. We will now have a presentation from Peter Nielsen, Manager, Infrastructure Services for the County of Peterborough regarding the county sign bylaw. Please unmute your audio and or share your camera and make your presentation. You will have 20 minutes, and I will ask council that all questions are saved until the end of this presentation. Go ahead if you're on there, Peter.
Yes,
Welcome.
good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you for receiving me today. Before I start on the presentation, I do want to thank John Asinga, your Chief Building Official. He participated on the sign bylaw working committee and assisted greatly in this process. So the next slide presents some background on the study process. We had the sign bylaw working committee. They finished their mandate March 2020. Council will recall that we previously presented to Trent Lakes Council in October of 2019. And on May the 6th of this year, of 2020, we did present the first draft bylaw with the recommendation that the bush country sign program continue. We want to prohibit those posted signs on utility poles and trees, etc. We had proposed regulating signs on private property. We had proposed eliminating election signs, and the bylaw was referred to municipalities for comment. So on the next slide, additional background. We reported again to County Council on August 26th of 2020. Based on the comments we received from the municipalities, it was identified that signs on private property do require approval by lower tier municipalities, that these signs should be designed by building code information holders or professional engineers, and that signs are to be inspected on private property by building officials. So this would result in a two permit process, both a building permit and a sign permit being issued. Well, that final building inspections are to be completed on the signs as well. So there was consideration of separate bylaws, one bylaw to address signs in the county road allowance, including election signs, and a second bylaw to consider signs on private property. The next slide was the final presentation to County Council on October 21st of 2020. At that council meeting, bylaw 2020-70 was approved. That's the new sign bylaw. That highlights that it only considers signs within county road allowances only, but does exclude election signs, and it does exclude signs on private property. So we were mandated to continue consultation on those types of signs as additional comments. The next slide just highlights some of the elements of the new sign bylaw. So permitted signs, bush country signs are continuing. And within Trent Lakes, North Kawartha, and Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, the sign designs have modified slightly. So rather than 2 face signs, single face signs will be permitted, and only on one side of the road. So you won't be seeing new signs installed on both sides of the road opposite each other. There is a 5-year permit renewal process. So from the date of first passage of the bylaw, existing bush country signs are to reapply every 5 years. And in order to meet the new standards under the bush country sign bylaw, there's a grace period up to January 2nd of 2023. There is the requirement for signs to be certified with a BCIN number, and there's a new fee structure as well. Other permitted signs, programmable reader boards acting as official signs or public information signs, and exempted signs, election signs are exempt from the bylaw, farm produce signs, official signs, etc. Prohibited signs are listed as well in the bylaw. So with respect to the next slide, as part of our continuing consultation with the lower tier municipalities under the direction of County Council, we did prepare a draft resolution for consideration of councils, and we presented 4 options in relation to the regulation of election signs. So we're hoping that Trent Lakes Council will consider one of these options for with respect to election signs in county road allowances. The first option would be that the county would adopt the lower tier municipal standards for election signs. So Trent Lakes has a sign bylaw. There may be standards available on that. The second option would be to develop new sign standards, election sign standards within Trent Lakes, and that would be regulated by municipal staff. The third option would be that Trent Lakes would adopt the county election sign regulation standards for regulation by municipal staff. And the fourth option would be that Trent Lakes would reject these options and refer it back to the county for regulation by county staff. So those are 4 options that we would hope that your council would consider as we move forward with this bylaw. At this time, we do not have an election sign bylaw, so election signs are in effect unregulated within county road allowances. So if there's an election called by any level of government, that may be a concern. So with respect to signs on private property, again, the signs on private property are exempt from the county bylaw. We need to establish a separate bylaw. And there's still the potential for the duplication of services. So if the standard process had been permitted to continue under the new county sign bylaw, the county would be issuing a sign permit and municipalities would be issuing a building permit, so duplication of service. So we presented a draft resolution for Trent Lakes Council to consider as we move forward. So in summary, final slide, the sign bylaw 2020 is now in effect, effective October 21st of 2020, and it does consider only signs within county road allowances. And this bylaw will be regulated by county staff. The real highlight of that bylaw is that bush country signs will be permitted to continue and county staff will be able to regulate those. Again, there's a grace period for bush country signs until January 21st of 2023. There's a new fee structure for bush country signs. So in effect, a $500 application fee, a one-time application fee, and then an ongoing occupancy fee of $250 per year. There is the requirement now for a BCIN certification of bush country signs. That will be required as part of a sign permit application. And again, election signs and signs on private property are unregulated. And we're continuing our consultation on these signs. So just open the floor for questions or comments.
Oh, quite. Councillor Franzen, you have a question? You're muted. You're muted.
The Buckhorn Community Center, when they're advertising events, they put in roadside signs along 36 and some of the county roads. Would they not be allowed?
Those would be classed as official signs by a level of government. So public information signs are permitted under the new bylaw.
Councillor Armstrong, you have a question?
I do, and thank you. And through you, Madam Mayor. Peter, I think you may have covered this, but would you mind, again, just explaining what a bush country sign is? I'm not sure I'd know one if I saw it.
Yep. Thanks for the question. Through the chair, bush country signs are in effect third-party advertising signs. You'd see them more colorful advertising signs in place by various businesses at strategic locations along county roads. So,
thank you.
Okay. Peter, I have a question for you. There's a resort in Buckhorn who used to have a sign right by the library pointing to their resort, Oak Bay. And somehow during the reconstruction and everything else, that sign got taken down. Who do they apply to now to be able to put a sign back up there?
yeah, we're continuing to receive applications. That's a process in place. So that business could apply to Martin O'Grady with Peterborough County. Martin has been responsible for many years of managing the bush country sign process. So he's prepared to receive applications.
Okay, because they don't want a great big sign. They need, like a fingerboard, something that sort of says Oak Bay is down here kind of thing. So anyway, I'll put them in touch with Martin. So thank you for that. Do we have any more questions for Peter? Thank you, Peter. This has been, this has probably kept you up a lot at night. This has been going on for a very long time. From my standpoint, I think it's probably as good as we could get. So we appreciate the efforts, and I think it's very clear for the public to move forward. So thank you for your presentation. Will now be go ahead.
Thank you very much for receiving the presentation. And again, we would request that council consider those 4 options for election signs, and as well the option for regulation of the signs on private property.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we don't do that now, do we?
A motion to receive would be appropriate.
Okay, I'm told a motion to receive is appropriate here. So Councillor Armstrong, are you making that motion? And,
I am.
Okay, and the seconder would be Deputy Mayor Wendover. Then are all in favor? Carried. Okay, the next delegation is being Monique Lloyd, and I am going to be excusing myself at this point. So the meeting will be taken over by Deputy Mayor Wendover.
Okay. Delegation, we'll now have a delegation from Monique Lloyd representing Crystal Lake Community Association regarding short-term rentals. Please unmute your audio and or share your camera and make your presentation. You'll have 10 minutes. I'll ask council that all questions are saved until the end of the delegation.
Great, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, fantastic. Again, my name is Monique Lloyd, and I'm here to present to you today from the Crystal Lake Community Association, and I'd just like to thank council for the opportunity to do so. So in the interest of time, we'll scoot right to the meat of the matter. If the slide could be advanced. Thank you. So our role here today is to share the member feedback we have received to date to the short-term rental licensing report created by the working group. Most, if not all of our members pointed out as if we needed any more reminding that we're in the middle of this unprecedented pandemic and provincial lockdown. And of course, most recently, Doug Ford's announcements today that we are in a state of emergency with stay-at-home orders. And whether that was partially for the reason for this expedited process, the council attention, we certainly appreciate. Our membership agrees that something needs to be done with short-term rentals in more formalized way, but the ability to carry out the work, they worry, is compromised given the uncertainty during these times. There's concerns that the report doesn't reflect a due process or desire to work with ratepayers to find a workable win-win solution, but appears rather to be a chosen copycat solution to meet a spring 2021 implementation deadline. And I'll share members' responses to that effect momentarily. Our membership is very concerned that Mayor Clarkson was recently removed from the working group due to a conflict of interest, and that her removal came only after the major recommendations were formulated. They worry her influence and authority over the group and its work to date is tarnished or has tarnished the integrity of the report. And many of them felt that a personal bias against rentals was evident in the tone of the report created by the working group. Next slide, please. We were pointed to the code of conduct for council, in which council members are directed to be independent, impartial, and responsible to the people, and expected to act with integrity and impartiality that will bear the closest scrutiny. So based on our members' voices and the comments we've received to date, we are respectfully requesting, next slide please, that council consider postponing the licensing bylaw until a more meaningful, transparent, representative, and responsible process for public input can proceed without bias, including inquiry into other options in addition to a licensing solution. Also, that council gives serious consideration to involving an independent, impartial consultant, such as has been done before in other initiatives, and consider the significant challenges the growing global pandemic and lockdown will have on fulfilling the recommendations in the report with care, integrity, responsibility, and insight. And we ask the council direct staff to formally and impartially consider other options in addition to licensing for broad public input. And I'll mention at the end of this slide, if you have copies of the deck, there's an appendix A and B, which are options put forward by our membership as other solutions to consider. And after input, whatever time that may be that is appropriate from the pandemic, direct staff to provide options analysis, including those around human resources and costs, and recommendations to council that reflect care and attention to all feasible options. And our members express concern that their resource implications also be analyzed. Next slide, please. So what we've done with all of our members' feedback is try to categorize them according to the 5 tasks that the working group was asked to do. So first being understanding the problems and receiving legal advice. Thirdly, inviting public input, researching best practices, and finally exploring and recommending policies for Trent Lakes. And they were tasked to do this in a report that would be provided back to council year end. And I'll just note that that resolution was moved by Mayor Clarkson on September 1st. So in terms of the first task, next slide, please. Our members were quick to point out that there are 30 or more inhabited lakes in Trent Lakes, and the report references just 9 registered complaints over 4 years. So that works out to 2.2 complaints per year for short-term rentals across 30 lakes. Other than that data, there did not seem traceable data or research to substantiate some of the issues in the report. And our members pointed to a comment on page 5 that there's a trend toward rental properties being owned and managed by companies rather than individual homeowners. That statement did not resonate with our membership. Our members were left to wonder whether problems and their magnitude seem based on anecdotal information, hearsay, and informal conversations with a particular focus on Crystal Lake, which I'll get to in a moment. Next slide, please. So the working group on page 3, in inviting public input, explicitly stated that they received input from a cross-section of individuals, and they were generally in support of the development of a short-term rental licensing bylaw. On behalf of CLCA, we state this claim is false and misleading. In our initial interview with the working group, we did not participate under the pretense of discussing or debating a licensing bylaw. Instead, we were invited under the ask for general information about our rental landscape and problems that we were aware of and potential solutions. I can assure you the word license did not come up in that conversation, and had it of, we would have prepared a completely different response. Next slide, please. In terms of interviews with the general public, the working group spoke to 21 individuals. Of those individuals, 6 were ratepayers, and of those ratepayers, 5 of them are on Crystal Lake, and they all spoke to the same short-term rental property. 2 of those who spoke jointly own that property, and 3 are their neighbors. Our association was 1, and I'm sorry, that should read 3 invited ratepayer associations. There was no representation from some of the larger lakes in Trent Lakes. Blue Mountain, the township of Ramera, and 2 resorts in Buckhorn, of which one is managed by the mayor's daughter, were invited to speak on their arrangements, but there were no interviews with general members of the public, service people, or shop owners. Once that draft report was circulated to all of those interviewed, only 8 responded with feedback. 5 of those 8, again, representing Crystal Lake. And it's of note that we had to ask to be here today. And again, we thank you for the opportunity. However, we are your only presentation that you are hearing about. This would be the imbalance that our members are quite concerned about. Next slide, please. So on behalf of the board of directors, I state that we have serious concerns about the one-sidedness towards Crystal Lake in the report. It seems the working group focused a great deal of attention on only one particular property, on only one particular lake in Trent Lakes. The optics are that it appears this Crystal Lake property is shouldering the blame for all of the rental problems in Trent Lakes, and it also appears that this property was used as both the basis for understanding the problems across Trent Lakes and justification for the proposed licensing solution. Now, we've shared the report broadly across our membership. It is a small lake, and as you can imagine, the optics of this have created immense tension amongst our membership. The singular focus and language used in the report, our members felt, painted rental owners, their renters and their guests as irresponsible, transient, and out of control, and have grave concerns with this. Next slide, please. So the working group was also tasked to research best practices, and our members noted a concern that from the very start, it seemed the working group was tasked to research licensing bylaws from over 30 municipalities. Now, speaking as a researcher myself, I also found this a bit concerning. I mean, one would think that they would determine a definition of a like municipality and allow what they searched for in terms of what solutions those like municipalities implemented, that would help guide the types of solutions that they were examining, but a predisposition to licensing seemed apparent from the start. Also, our members many of them mentioned the bylaw read very similar to the approach by the unlike township of Ramera, which itself was modeled after Blue Mountain. Now, both of these entities were interviewed, and both our members stressed for corporate enterprises that they felt in no way was comparable to the landscape across Trent Lakes. Our members were quick to point out that other cottage country areas such as Lake Bays, Gravenhurst, Muskoka, etc., had not chosen a licensing program, and some had pointed us to the city of Kawartha Lakes that in fact has data to demonstrate that they improved their rental issues without a licensing approach. However, information was not provided as to why those rental approaches in these municipalities were not deemed appropriate, and our members were very concerned why no other like municipalities were interviewed. Next slide, please. So the working group, it was felt very strongly by our membership, also gave very limited consideration to the human resource and budget implications for enforcing this licensing solution across 30 lakes. So everything from receiving applications, needing to do on-site pre-inspections, and so forth, and monitoring and follow up all of these properties. And I'll just skip to bullet number 4. Our members stress that to only consider a bylaw if it can be enforced, that there are even existing issues with property owners and enforcement of bylaws. And our members weren't confident that this licensing solution would make things any more effective. The licensing solution seemed intrusive to many and some of the requirements excessive, and owners were concerned it removed their right to attend court and that the municipality is now inserting themselves into the regulatory system and acting as judge and jury in instances of short-term rental complaints. And I believe the only area in which the municipality would have similar oversight is currently in the licensing of dogs in the municipality. Also, our membership thought the proposal created a higher standard of oversight for rentals and asked why that would be instead of with general property owners and B&Bs and resorts. And B&B and resorts only have provincial oversight in the area of food and water safety. And finally, many of our members pointed out the report did not consider any evaluation criteria of the program at large. There were no measurable outcomes proposed. And some asked whether this was perhaps a product of not, in fact, articulating the problem well enough and knowing what solutions they were hoping to achieve. Next slide, please. So in summary, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to respond, but I do want to end with a caveat that given the extremely tight timelines by the working group, we don't feel that we've adequately reached our membership on this issue. We would normally hold a town hall of sorts or a public meeting, and of course during these times that's nearly impossible. Now, having said that, we have fielded easily over 100 emails, telephone calls, and discussions to date with our members, and including some of yourselves. And we've easily put in hundreds of volunteer hours spent on this work. And our caution to you is that if our response is any indication of the broader response you might expect from the rest of Trent Lakes, we very much feel the work on short-term rentals is not nearly complete, and yet the working group has been dissolved. So again, we are respectfully requesting that Council please consider a more objective, transparent, representative, and thorough examination of short-term rentals across Trent Lakes that will meet our ratepayers' expectations and also repair some of what we believe are fatal flaws in the current proposal. Thank you.
Well, do we have any questions or comments from the members of council?
Fine, yes, for sure.
I can't see anyone. Are there any questions? Comments? Hello? Peter? Oh, yeah. Yes, Terry?
I would just like to make a motion that we receive that presentation for information purposes. And thank you very much for your presentation, Monique.
Thank you.
You're seconding that, Peter? Thank you. Comment, Carol? Are we just all in favor? I can't see. Okay. It's carried. Okay. Thank you for your delegation. You will now remove from the meeting and log back in. If you wish to come back, listen to remain in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think the mayor can. Is Janet coming back now?
She went home, Ron.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay.
Okay. Now we will have a delegation from Anthony Usher, planning consultant regarding application to amend zoning bylaw 1923. Please unmute your audio or share your camera and make your presentation. You will have 10 minutes. And then I'll ask council if they have questions. Go ahead, Anthony.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Clarkson and council. I'm Tony Usher, and I'm the planning consultant and agent for Charles and Maureen Johnson. And I had my say at the public meeting on this application a year ago, and I don't see any particular reason to repeat myself. Same as a year ago, you have a fair and a balanced planning report on your agenda from Chris Jones, which he's now updated. And you also have my own submissions from last year and my additional letter of December 21, which is on your agenda. And it's that letter that I'd like to briefly refer to. I wanted in the letter to first address points that were raised at last year's public meeting, not knowing how staff would address them. Those included whether building permits could be issued, whether the shoreline structures that were identified at the public meeting, and the comments provided by Curve Lake First Nation. However, since I wrote that letter, Chris has covered all these points in his report. In my opinion, he did so satisfactorily and in such a way as to fully address any concerns that council might still have on those points. I also wanted in that letter to provide some additional information on the physical situation of my client's shoreline. I should have provided this in our original submissions, but it further justifies the proposal in my view. And Tiffany has kindly put up the map that was attached to my letter. And it shows that, well, first of all, sorry, I was just trying to see the map better. White Lake is a Trent Severn headwater lake, and its level fluctuates by 1.5 meters between May and October. And the map shows the depth contours. And you can see that White Lake is very shallow. Almost all of it is less than 9 meters deep. And at my client's shoreline, you'd have to go out about 55 meters to get to 3 meters depth. That's the first, my client is at the red X, and the first contour line, the first white line, as you go out into the lake, is 3 meters. And that's 55 meters out. So if you do the math on that, if the water level goes up and down 1.5 meters, that means that the shoreline goes in and out by about 28 meters. So the length of the structures that my client is proposing, 23 and 27 meters out from shore, are really the bare minimum in this location. Also, while the map is there, I just wanted to remind council that in the whole south bay of White Lake, that's south of the 2 points that come out in the middle towards each other, there are only 10 developed lots plus 11 more vacant lots. I spoke to the planning merits of this proposal at last year's public meeting. Chris, in his report, correctly sets up the questions for you to consider in order for you to consider this proposal on its individual merits. Chris hasn't raised any environmental concerns. He says there will be no negative impact on adjacent owners. He does not suggest any adverse impact on the character of White Lake. I agree with Chris, and I elaborated on these points to you last year. So it remains my opinion that this proposal represents good planning and is in the public interest. If council is minded to approve the proposal, the draft zoning bylaw provisions are acceptable to my clients, and the proposed holding conditions are acceptable. Thank you very much for your time and consideration, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Usher. Do we have comments? Okay, can we have a motion then, please? Hearing none. Councillor Lambshead?
Motion to receive, yes.
Motion to receive. Councillor Armstrong is the seconder. And can we have the vote, please? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you'll be removed from the meeting at this time, but you can log back in if you wish to listen. Okay, staff reports. Public Works. Chelsea Carpenter, would you like to speak to the waste management, please?
Yes, thank you, and through you, Mayor Clarkson. On today's agenda is the formal amendment to the consultant service agreement with Greenview Environmental Management for the dedicated mechanics facility. At the November 16th, 2020 council meeting, council directed staff to proceed with the design, tender preparation, and contract administration for a dedicated mechanics facility at the 49 site using the existing contract with Greenview Environmental Management. The amendment was prepared in order to update the project scope in addition to the project fees. If council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Council, do we have questions?
Just a comment.
Councillor Lambshead, you have a comment?
Just a comment. This is a good step forward, I think.
I concur. Anyone else? So are you ready to make the motion then, Councillor Lambshead, to accept this report?
Absolutely, I will receive the report. Thank
Okay,
you.
and can we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Windover, Councillor Armstrong. And can we have the vote, please? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Recreation facilities. Dylan Kosh, Director of Recreation, outdoor sports pad season. Would you like to speak to that, please? Are you there? I just saw the announcement from the province, and as of Thursday, nobody can leave their homes, according to this result. So this the sports pad season thing may be a whatever. Are you there, Dylan? Oh, Dylan. Okay, he will come on when he comes back. Let us know when you're back, Dylan. We'll put you back in here.
Is anybody?
Maybe he's back.
You can hear me now, Janet?
Yep, I gotcha.
Okay, sorry, I'm not in my usual location today. I'm working on site, joining you guys. So this report was obviously drafted before this afternoon's announcement. As Monique there let everybody know, the province will be under a state of emergency, and the Premier has issued a stay-at-home order, which is essentially everyone's to stay at home unless it's for an essential reason. The outdoor gathering limit has also been reduced to 5, which practically I don't think 5 people can be enforced for an outdoor gathering at a rink that is not staffed. So it would be my recommendation at this point in time that council defers any opening of either of the sports pads until further information comes from the province. We don't know exactly what the new announcement will mean today, but given the severity of it and the message that the province is clearly putting forth, I don't recommend that the rink be opened.
Well, I guess to add to that, Dylan, since you've heard the same report that I have, I don't know how you can stay at home and go outside and have a gathering. There seems to be
I would concur, Mayor Clarkson.
There's a bit of a problem with that. Anyway, thank you for that report, and I'm going to ask for a motion to approve that report. Could I have Councillor Franzen, and seconder would be Deputy Mayor Windover. All in favor?
May we, sorry.
Yes.
Can we clarify the motion?
Sorry, Mayor Clarkson, that's what I was going to ask as well.
What's that now? Clarify the motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, Councillor Lambshead, did you make the motion? Who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Councillor Franzen.
Councillor Franzen, you made the motion. Would you like to verbalize that motion, please?
It was a motion to receive his report.
Okay.
Dylan Kosh's report.
Receive and support, I would assume.
Yeah, receive and support.
Okay. And Councillor Lambshead, you were the seconder?
I was.
You were? Okay, are you okay with that seconding, Deputy Mayor Windover? Councillor Armstrong. Councillor Armstrong, I got you.
No.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, thank you. I'm still not clear on what we're supporting. Are we supporting the original report, which recommended option 3, or are we supporting deferral of opening any of the ice pads until further information from the province?
Okay, Dylan, would you like to answer what you would like that motion to look?
Sure, through you, Mayor Clarkson, I would request that my recommendation is that council receive the report and defer any opening of the sports pad until further information is received from the province and a better decision can be made.
I think Councillor Franzen, Deputy Mayor Windover, you're in
Yeah.
favor of that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we have a motion that, or a vote then, please, to support? Okay, that motion is carried. Fire and Emergency Services, we have none. Building and Planning, Chris Jones. That's the Johnson file. And we need a motion. Anybody care to make a motion there? Yes.
Through you, Mayor Clarkson, I think Chris Jones will review his report, and after that,
Okay, so he's on again?
he's on his.
Okay, okay, Chris, I'm sorry.
Yeah, good afternoon, Madam Worship and Council. So yes, Mr. Usher, planner for the applicant Johnson, we just heard his update through his deputation. And council will recall it was about a year ago, almost to the date, that a public meeting was held for this proposed in-water boathouse. The subsequent deferral that came out of that public meeting required a few things to be reviewed or considered. One was some comments from the CBO at the public meeting that just dealt with issuance of permits on Crown land and that type of thing. There was some comments submitted from the Curve Lake First Nation. And there was also the issue of a couple of accessory storage buildings that staff became aware that were in place on the property, again, in the absence of a principal use. So, those items essentially were in part the basis for the deferral. It didn't necessarily take a year to come to some resolution to these issues, but the applicant did take the step at the request of the CBO of updating the survey to identify the location of the two accessory buildings. The CBO confirmed those buildings were under the OBC minimum requirement for a building permit, and so that survey came back to us in the later part of the summer. And again, like everything else, the COVID pandemic was certainly, when it did come back to us, it sort of put it back in the queue. And as council is aware, the planning department has been dealing with a lot of volume in terms of applications to process. In any event, what I have provided is essentially a supplemental report. It's mostly my original report from last January. Again, with the supplemental considerations. Firstly, the issue of constructing buildings and issuing permits over Crown land. Again, staff have consulted with the municipal solicitor and collaborated with some of our other municipal partners. And there is consensus that this issue is something that we have the ability to regulate and consider, that being planning approvals and the issuance of building permits extending onto Crown land or land covered by water, which is Crown land. Yeah, the Curve Lake comments, again, I've spoken to those as well. Again, together with staff, we have taken consideration of Curve Lake comments with many of our planning applications and requiring archaeological assessments. In this particular instance, given that we are dealing with a structure extending into water that will essentially be tethered or anchored back to shore, and in terms of the in-water portion, tethered to a couple of concrete footings or anchors, it's not an instance where I have a comparable sort of site alteration or dredging or something that in a similar vein on land we have been using as the basis to trigger an assessment. So on that basis, I am not recommending that is necessary for the application to proceed. Having said that, one of my recommendations with this application is that it be subject to a site plan agreement, and that at the time that a building permit is submitted and the and the design parameters or specifications for the boathouse are able to be reviewed by the building department, we could have a site plan provision that would trigger an assessment if we are of the view that alterations to the actual lake bed are required to accommodate the boathouse. So your worship and council, that's again, that's the overview here, and again, I'll hearken to my earlier analysis. This is not our zoning bylaw certainly precludes in-water structures. That has been a historic interpretation, and we took steps to further sort of articulate that in our recent update to the bylaw. Having said that, our planning policies per se do not necessarily preclude or have clear policies that prohibit these types of structures. Certainly, we do have policies that prohibit habitable space within the shoreline setback, and that is fairly definitive and articulate, and I think easy to defend for applications that proceed to LPAT. In this case, again, we are really left to the consideration, I think, on this particular site-specific case of a very large property with a fairly substantial shoreline frontage, and for a basis or reason, which again, Mr. Usher has spoken to, and that being the issue of that fluctuating water level. So that's the brief overview, your worship and council. The amending bylaw is on the agenda for consideration. The one item that the original request did speak to an uncovered rooftop patio, and I have struck that provision. So if council is of the view that this is a supportable application, then the amendment again could preclude the use of the rooftop for essentially an amenity space, if that's council's wish. That's my summary, your worship and council.
Okay, council comments. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. Chris, we've dealt with the situations of boathouses a number of times, and there always seems to be a lack of clarity around it. So this is not about the application so much as a question to you. In your professional opinion, does our municipality still need to create a more specific bylaw with regard to boathouses? Or are we in a situation where we're in the best of situations and we should deal with them on a one-off basis?
So, and again, I speak to this through the mayor to Councillor Armstrong. I speak to this to some extent in my report. Essentially, where we are at today is there is clarity in our zoning bylaw that we do permit boathouses. They are dryland boathouses, though. Wet or in-water boathouses are defined, but are not permitted in our zoning bylaw, and that's clear and articulate, and I think is reflective. My history with Trent Lakes and Galway, Cavendish, Harvey is not long, but I think that's generally reflective of the way things have sort of been unfolding. Having said that, we have several of our lakes that are under the Trent Severn Authority. And of course, in-water installations and boathouses are authorized under the Trent Severn policies. Having said that, with any municipality I've worked for, and I will tell you, in my 25 years working with cottage country, near North municipality, I have spent an inordinate amount of time on applications that deal with boathouses. Again, whether that's applications at the council level or OMB or LPAT level. Should the municipality wish to proceed to a more definitive position on in-water structures of any type, but the subject today is boathouses. If they want a more definitive position, then the way to go forward with that is to articulate that in your official plan. That is the best way ultimately to transition from sort of a application by application basis to a position of saying this is just not something we contemplate or wish to permit in our water bodies. And if you have that regulation that is supported by a very clear official plan policy that prohibits them, you stand the best chance of again defending yourself or the municipality's future decision making in front of the tribunal.
Okay.
Good. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Any other questions? I think the one question that I would have probably to Mr. Jones, having been on waterfront for most of my life, and with the way water goes up and down, and with the damage that takes on any kind of shoreline infrastructure, my concern always is if we allow somebody to put a structure in the waterway and the water fluctuates the way it is, and that's becoming more and more problematic, where does the liability come in if that structure can't maintain what the water levels are doing? Because I don't know whether we've got one still on the books now, but there's been one for a very long time that failed, and they couldn't determine whether or not it was the construction, whether it was the water, whether it was the owner. But when you're dealing with with Mother Nature the way you are right now, to put something into the water that's got some substance to it, you're taking a big risk. You want to comment, Chris?
Yeah, so, you know, and Madam Mayor, your comments are well-founded or well-considered. I don't, at the end of the day, from a planning perspective, I can't speak to a particular liability risk or liability issue. All we can really do is, I think, consider, I guess, in dealing with anything that extends into water, I think our first point of reference is the Public Lands Act, which authorizes, it was recently amended due to a very notable court case, but the Public Lands Act was recently amended to essentially permit as of right a number of what we might consider typical in-water installations. Now, this is provincial land, so if there is a liability issue, you would think the province would be maybe approaching that in a more prohibitive way. But essentially, what the Public Lands Act is sets out it's a fairly short list, I guess, of things that waterfront owners can do in the way of docks, boathouses, this type of thing, onto and over public land. So if there's an implication of liability, I would think that the Crown would be very sensitive or well aware of that. And again, the only other, and whether it's reassuring or not, I don't think we as a municipality or you as a council are sitting there, you know, making a decision on the first in-water boathouse ever to sort of be requested. We know they're out there. As I said in my report, my personal opinion, based on the time I've been in and around the Trent Lakes water bodies, I don't necessarily view a definitive boathouse culture the same way I would in some parts of Muskoka. But again, at this point in time, what we really are left with is considering these on a case by case.
Okay, I'm calling once more again for comment, and if not, we will move on with the motion. Councillor Lambshead.
Just a comment. I mean, this is a very enormous piece of property with a large frontage and a very sloping front. I mean, it's not out of the question to have such a large structure out in the water just to prevent it being damaged by the raising and lowering of the water. My only concern is the shoreline connection. If that is going to be a large excavation of any kind, then we should have an assessment on that archaeologically through Curve Lake First Nations, but that would be my only concern. The floating part of the dock is good habitat underneath there. My concern is the connection to the shore, and that would be my biggest concern.
Anybody else mirror that or another compliment or comment? Okay, would you like to make that motion with that caveat attached?
I don't know. We're making motion steps yet. I think that's later in the agenda. But
not according to my information. It's not. Is that true, Jesse? Can we make the motion now?
Through you, Mayor Cullickson, yes, we can. There are 2 suggested recommendations on Chris's report. One would be to direct staff to prepare a zoning bylaw amendment with a holding provision, which will require the applicant to purchase the shore road and enter into a site plan agreement with the municipality. Or the other option is to deny the application.
Go ahead, Councillor Limeshead.
then I will make that a motion to approve this zoning bylaw amendment with those conditions, with the holding pattern, and also to have a site plan agreement with the municipality.
Do you want to add the archaeological study to that, or?
Well, that'll happen during the site plan agreement.
Okay. Okay, have we got a seconder to that motion? Councillor Franzen? Are you making, are you seconding with comment or just seconding?
Just seconding.
Okay. Could we have the motion, all in favor? Okay, that motion is carried. Thank you. Adele Arbor, temporary manager of building and planning, replacement truck. Are you there, Adele?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mayor. Through you, Madam Mayor, this report is for information purposes and is regarding a replacement truck in the Building and Planning Department. In accordance to the municipal purchasing policy, under emergency and time-sensitive purchases, a request for quotations was issued in December 2020. A vehicle that best met the specification was purchased last week, and the insurance amount received exceeded the purchase price of this new vehicle. And that concludes the report.
Okay, have we got a motion to support that report?
I will make that a motion, and just a comment that I'm glad that no one was injured badly in that incident.
Well said. Do we have a seconder? That was motion by Councillor Lambshead, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wendover. And can we have a Councillor Armstrong, do you want to comment? Are you commenting? No? Okay, could we have a motion to approve, please? And the next has to do with the planning on the short-term rental. And again, Ron, I'm going to turn this over to you. Councillor Lambshead.
We just have to make sure we mention that the motion is carried.
Thank you. That motion is carried. Ron, I need you to take over again, please.
Yes, okay, I will. Adele, temporary manager of building and planning on behalf of short-term rental working group. Short-term rental licensing revised report.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor Wendover. This revised report has been prepared at the direction of Council and is being presented on behalf of the short-term working group. At the December 1st, 2020 Council meeting, Council in their recommendation directed the short-term rental working group to reconvene 2 more times to obtain additional information from the stakeholders, which the working group had already heard from, and fine-tune the report, bringing it back to Council. The working group met on December 14th with stakeholders and on December 18th with the municipal solicitor. The report before Council today is the original report, which was presented to Council December 1st, with fine-tuning, highlighted changes, and clarifications shown in bold. The major change to the original report, the working group had reconsidered and are now recommending an exemption to the proposed licensing bylaw for property owners who are occasional or casual renters and rent out their residence for 21 days or less per calendar year. The rationale for this consideration is identified in the report. The working group has also made some deletions and clarifications to proposed license application requirements in this report. However, keeping in mind that these proposed regulations have not been vetted through a fulsome public consultation process as of yet. Therefore, it is being recommended that Council receive the revised report from the temporary manager of Building and Planning on behalf of the short-term rental working group addressing short-term rental licensing for their information, and further that Council direct staff to prepare a draft short-term rental licensing bylaw and associated application forms for public consideration based upon the revisions detailed in the report, and further that staff develop a public consultation process to receive input regarding the draft licensing bylaw with an implementation date to be determined by Council at a later date, and further that the short-term rental working group be dissolved. Perhaps the other working group members may have some additional comments to add, and we'd be happy to answer any questions Council may have. As a reminder for Council, as a carry forward from the December 1st Council recommendation included direction to staff to review and update the existing relevant bylaws and drafting of a nuisance bylaw for Council's consideration in the future, and staff will be working on that request of Council. And that concludes the report.
Thank you, Adele. Any comments? Questions? Carol? Ms. Armstrong?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, and through you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Adele. Good summary. Just a couple of comments. As a member of the working group, I want to comment that since the interim and the final SGR reports have been published through our agendas, the working group and Council have received considerable valuable input on both of those reports. The comments range from total support to total opposition and everything in between. As noted earlier, the vast majority of these comments have come from one particular area of the municipality. And the reason for that is because the working group did not conduct a fulsome public consultation process. That is a function of the full council to do so. And in fact, that was the recommendation from this report. We understand that this is a very complex and controversial issue, affects everybody in the municipality. It's very unfortunate it has become somewhat tense, as Monica alluded to earlier. And it's also unfortunate there is out there misinformation, distorted interpretation, suspicion, and innuendo. And that is why the primary recommendation of the report is that if council chooses to go forward with this, then they in fact conduct a fulsome public consultation, which would be advertised and promoted in all parts of the municipality so that we could get representative, respectful, constructive, and informed input from the public. Unfortunately, with COVID, that's going to be very, very difficult to do so that we can in fact have a dialogue and a full public meeting. That's unfortunately the situation that we are faced with now. So those are just my comments to add a little bit to Adele's. I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. More comments? Chair Peter?
Yeah, I find, first of all, with the comments that Councillor Armstrong made about COVID, I can't see that we could possibly have any public meetings for till September at the earliest. So I would like to see that we would defer this, have a cooling off period, and have our public meetings. There may be some work that the committee has to do. I find quite a few of the conditions to the short-term rental are quite onerous, and I'd like them reviewed.
Thank you. Terry, you got a comment?
Well, yeah, we've just entered a state of emergency in our province due to the COVID pandemic. I think having public meetings is certainly out of the question, but I think it is a very, very necessary step before we move any further forward. I mean, we have a lot of people in our municipality that kind of rely on some very small amounts of rental to keep their pieces of property, and I think it's important to have consultation with all of those people before we move forwards.
So does someone want to make a motion that we just receive this and not until we can make public meetings?
Councillor Franzen has his hand up.
Yeah. Ron, I'd like to make a motion that we defer this till the September meeting and have further discussion. Then we may have to have reconvene the committee, and we may have to put one member of council on that committee. So I think there's still a lot of work to be done, and at least that way, there's no way that we can have this implemented for this summer. I think it has to be implemented in 2022. So I'll make that a motion that we defer this till September.
You got a seconder?
I'll second that, as long as we're going to not dissolve the committee and appoint another member of council to that committee to start getting some groundwork and organized to have public meetings when we can.
I don't think we were going to dissolve it. They would just go to dissolve, were they not? Like, but we can keep it on. I think if they want to stay on, I do believe. Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
Yeah,
Yes, Carol?
thank you. Yeah, as a member of the working group, and I think in talking with some of the other members, I think we would support that at this point in time. It's very clear that we need to have full public consultation and dialogue, and that will not be likely available until probably next September, as you suggest, Peter. I would say I'm not so sure that the working group should continue its work at this point in time, because as I said earlier, it's the purview of the full council to conduct full public consultation. And without that, I'm not sure that there is any point in the working group continuing to devote more time and resources to this until we've had that opportunity. So I would support everything that you said, but suggest that we simply defer any further work by the working group until September as well.
Okay, so.
Ron, I would concur with Councillor Armstrong's comments.
So do you want to change your motion or just the same motion?
If there's change that's needed on the comments that Councillor Armstrong gave, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Well, so we'll just, so you made the motion, Terry seconded?
Yep.
All in favor? Okay, it's passed. And okay. Carried. Now, okay, I guess now we can call the mayor back.
Yes, we can.
You saying it, Carol?
Nope.
Did the mayor go home? Oh, there she comes. Oh.
Okay, thanks again, Ron. Appreciate that. Administration, Lynn Holtz, Economic Development Officer, Rebuckhorn, Trent, Severn Trail Town budget request. Are you there, Lynn?
Yes, and thank you, Mayor Clarkson. Speaking through you, Madam Mayor, you have before you a report regarding a request from Buckhorn Trent Severn Trail Town for 2021 funding. If council has any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Do we, Councillor Armstrong?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. EDO Holtz and I have had this discussion earlier, but just for for everybody's information, couple of things. First of all, of the 9 municipalities that are participating in Trail Town, we are the only municipality that has provided financial support to it, which I am perfectly okay with because I think that it's a good initiative and has positive economic repercussions for us. My concern is that some of the expenses that are being requested from Trail Town can in fact be covered by provincial monies that have been allocated to the regional tourist office for Trail Town activities. So I don't want to be in a position where the municipality is paying for things that have been otherwise provided for through provincial funding through RTO8. And in addition, there could be a complication where that puts RTO8 in a difficult position of double funding some of their programs. So I guess I would make a motion to receive the report, but also request that when this comes up as a budget item, that it be vetted to ensure that we are not paying for things that are otherwise provided for with provincial funding.
Do we have any other comments?
I would like to second the motion.
Okay. And I would just like to comment on that motion also. I agree, Carol. I think by the time budget comes along, any monies that's going to come down by the province should be earmarked at that time. So I think this is I think this budget was, as you know, in talking to everyone, I think this budget had to do with worst case scenario. So if there's other money that comes down, obviously it's going to come off that bottom line. So we're still going to leave those motions the way they are. Yes, Jesse?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Clarkson. I just want a clarification on whether we're just simply receiving the report or that second item about requesting that it be vetted at the budget time. Is that just going to be done at budget time or is that included in the resolution?
I would include it in the resolution.
Okay.
Sorry, Councillor Armstrong, can you just state it again?
Yes, the motion would be to receive the report and at the budget discussion meetings that it be confirmed whether any of these expenses will be covered by provincial allocations.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Councillor Lambshead?
Yes, I am.
Okay, can I call for the vote, please? All in favor? Everybody? Have you got your hand up there, Councillor Franzen?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. And that motion is carried. CAO Donna Taggart, draft budget with approved changes and additional requests. Donna, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Actually, Councillor Armstrong has her hand up before, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Armstrong. Hello.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I would like to request, since this is a budget item and it's of considerable importance in the context of our overall 2021 budget deliberations, that we defer this item to the special budget meeting that is already scheduled for January 27th. I'm constrained on time. I think it deserves full consideration, and there's no urgency to having to make decisions today. So my recommendation is to defer this item to January.
So Councillor Armstrong, are you talking about the previous one now, or are you talking about the one that's in front of us? Draft budget with approved changes, is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do we have a motion to support that? Seconder? Councillor Lambshead, do you want to speak to it?
No, I will second that motion because we are getting constrained in time, I'm sure. And I think it's important to have a full meeting on this item.
Okay. Donna, do you concur with that?
Yes, through you, I do support that for sure.
Okay, so we've had our motion and our seconder, and can we have, can we vote on the motion, please? Approved? That has passed. Corporate services, Ann Ruth, council expenses for December.
Thank you. Through the mayor to council. This report brings forward council expenses for the month of December 2020 and the remainder of November 2020 for council's consideration and approval. Thank you.
And do we have a motion here, please? Councillor Franzen and Councillor Lambshead.
Motion to
Can we
approve.
have the vote? All in
Yep.
favor? Or comment? Any comment there? All in favor? Carried. Jesse Clark, Director of Corporate Services, fees and charges bylaw review.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Clarkson. Annually, to coincide with the budget process, there's a review of the fees and charges bylaw. My report outlines a few changes, specifically in reference to the shoreline road allowance administration fee, a fence viewer initiation fee, and CPI increase for all building department service fees. The report also spoke to mixed loads with recyclable items, and there's going to be a further review of this to coincide with the drafting of this bylaw, and the CPI numbers will not be available till the end of January 2021, so I'm anticipating that it'll be passed in February. So the recommendation is just to receive the report and direct staff to prepare a bylaw.
Okay, I would like a motion and then conversation if there is any. Motion. Councillor Armstrong. Deputy Mayor Windover is the seconder. Is there comment? Okay, motion to approve. All. Okay, and that has carried. Amendment to fence viewer bylaw.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Clarkson. This report is for council's information. Council directed staff to review the administrative fees prohibiting proceedings of Line Fence Act applications and exempting all or part of the municipality. Staff have reviewed it and recommend instituting a $200 administration fee to recover some of the costs associated with processing a Line Fences Act request, as well as exempting viewings from November 1st to March 31st. And staff have drafted the bylaw, which is included on today's agenda for council's approval.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve that?
For motion to receive, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Lambshead, Deputy Mayor Windover. A vote. All in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, again, Jesse, application to purchase an unopened road allowance.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Clarkson. Staff were in receipt of an application to purchase an unopened road allowance from Richard Clark and Rosa Maria Vaz. The requested road allowance to purchase is due to an encroachment of a cottage and a septic system on the municipal road allowance. Due to the municipal policy on the use of unopened road allowances, it is being requested that the sale of the road allowance be denied, and further that staff request the applicant to acquire a survey of the property and the structures and apply for an encroachment agreement with the municipality, a draft of which has been included on the agenda.
Okay, I need a motion and comment if there is any. A motion, please. Councillor Lambshead.
I will make a motion to receive the report from the Director of Corporate Services regarding an application to purchase the unopened road allowance by Clark Vaz, and further that council deny the application to purchase the unopened road allowance from Richard Clark and Rosa Maria Vaz, and further that council direct staff to request the applicant to acquire a survey of the property and structures and apply for an encroachment agreement.
Well done. Do we have a seconder to that? Did I see your hand there, Councillor Armstrong? Nope.
No.
Deputy Mayor Wendover?
I think.
Go ahead. Okay, all in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. And here's another one, application to purchase for McGregor. Jesse?
Thank you. Staff are in receipt of an application to purchase an open road allowance from Robert McGregor. Mr. McGregor had previously approached council in 1995 to obtain permission to construct his driveway over the road allowance to facilitate access to his island property. Mr. McGregor is requesting to purchase the north half of the unopened road allowance. Again, due to the policy, staff are recommending that the application to purchase this land be denied. Staff spoke to the municipal solicitor and obtained a use agreement, which was attached, a draft was attached to the report. And staff are recommending that council direct staff to prepare a use agreement with Mr. McGregor for this property.
Okay. All right, can I have a motion, please? Councillor Franzen.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, can we have a seconder? And is there any comment? Councillor Armstrong?
Second.
Okay, any comment? Okay, can we have a vote to approve that? Excuse me, that motion has carried. Okay, another one, transfer of unopened road allowance from Brockbank.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Clarkson. At the July 14th council meeting, council approved the stop-up, closure, and sale of an unopened road allowance. Staff and the applicants have completed the required process in order to complete a transfer of the subject lands. There's a bylaw on today's agenda to stop up, close, and transfer parts 1 and 2 of the registered plan to Stephen Shannon Brockbank for council's consideration. And the recommendation is just to authorize the transfer and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute any documents necessary for the sale.
Okay. Motion, Deputy Mayor Wendover, seconded by Councillor Lambshead. Vote to approve. All in favor? Carried.
Just, may I make a comment also?
Sure.
Because this, I mean, the two we just denied are road allowances that run right into the water. And this one is not. So there's reasons why some get denied and some get approved. This is a purchase of a part of the road allowance that doesn't directly run into the water. Just for clarification, so people understand that there was denials. And thank you, through you.
Is that, everyone's clear with that? Okay, Jesse, you're okay with that?
Yeah, that's correct.
Thanks for the clarification. That certainly would be a question that for people who are listening would maybe find confusing. Okay, we've got a whole lot of correspondence for information. I'm going to ask for a motion to receive it all unless somebody wants to pull something out. Councillor Armstrong?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sorry to do this, but I'd like to pull out 11.4 and 11.10 just for comment, not for a motion.
Okay. So do you want to comment on 11.4 first?
I can do that. 11.4 effect. Sorry?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. 11.4 essentially delegates responsibility for tree protection from the county to the municipality. And some of you may remember that we have deferred to staff the preparation of a tree protection bylaw, which has been basically be held up until we had approval or the authorization to go ahead and do some work on this. So it's very significant that that has happened. So we can proceed. And 11.10, just to point out that has written a letter of support for establishing a community safety zone on County Road 507, which would allow the OPP to increase fines for speeding, which will be an improvement and enhancement of enforcement of speeding vehicles on that. That's it. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up because 11.4, I don't understand what the destruction of the trees and injuring of trees has to do with the photo radar.
Nothing.
I don't know how two things got put in under the one correspondence, but yes.
Mayor Clarkson, they're both from the county of Peterborough.
Well, no, I can understand that. It just seems that there would have been two separate.
They were.
Oh,
There's three.
okay. Anyway, thank you for that. So we need a motion to accept all of these with with comment on those two. And Councillor Armstrong, you want to make that motion? Okay, and
I will
yes.
make that motion.
Thank you. And the seconder would be Councillor Lambshead. And all in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you. Correspondence for action. Town of Carlton Place, childcare funding impacts from COVID. Motion to, well, you decide what the motion is going to be. Accept, support. Could I have a motion to, yes?
I would support that. I think it's important to support that. It's trying to reduce the impacts of COVID-19 on everyone. So I think children are foremost in our minds.
And I would like to second that. Can we have a vote? All in favor? Carried. Support for small business. Also, we need a motion for this one, please. Support. Councillor Armstrong, are you supporting? Or?
Motion to receive.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Windover? Are you our seconder?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that motion to approve? All in favor? Township of Matchagoowan, grant application deadlines. Having good luck here today. Councillor Armstrong, I got you.
Awesome, thank you, that works. I'm sorry, my motion was to receive the Town of Kingsville's correspondence. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So you're motioning to approve and the seconder was Councillor or Deputy Mayor Windover. You're okay with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the same motion to approve is still okay?
No.
Okay,
No.
now this other
No,
township.
it was received. It was received.
Through you, Mayor Clarkson, I think the confusion is coming when you're asking for a motion to approve when you want to know if all are in favor.
Okay. So I need to just, all in favor is what we're looking for.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, so are we okay as far as we are now? Or do you want to go back?
Through you, Mayor Clarkson, the last resolution I have was to receive the Town of Kingsville correspondence regarding support for small business, moved by Councillor Armstrong, seconded by Deputy Mayor Windover, and it was carried.
Okay. So that's motion to approve.
Nope, that was motion to receive.
Oh.
But when, okay, so I'm asking for,
There already was a vote and it was carried.
okay, so the motion's carried, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back. Okay, I have no idea what this is, Matchawana. Grant application deadline.
Matashuan.
What is that?
It's Matashuan.
Matchawan?
Matashuan, yeah.
All right. I'll put that in here. Do we have a motion for the grant application deadlines or just to receive, or give me an idea? Councillor Lambshead?
I would make a motion to support this because it's very difficult for our staff sometimes to get a grant application in time and get it all put together and apply for it. So if we have some extensions on grant applications, I think it would be much better for our own staff. So I would have a motion to support this.
Okay.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Windover, you're the seconder?
Second it, yeah.
Okay. Then we have the motion.
Call for the vote.
I'm calling for the. I'm going to go home. Okay, I call for the vote. All in favor?
There you go.
That motion is carried.
Thank you.
Oh. Bylaws on the agenda memorandum. Jesse, would you like to speak for this?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Clarkson. There were several bylaws on today's agenda that didn't have a corresponding staff report or were not part of a public meeting. That's B 2021-001, which is the interim tax levy bylaw passed by council annually, setting the interim tax billing dates. B 2021-002 is the annually passed borrowing bylaw. And B 2021-004 is a bylaw to amend the Economic Development Advisory Committee terms of reference to include up to 6 citizen members, which council directed through a resolution on December 15th.
Okay, and we don't have a motion requirement for that. Now, interim tax levy, 2021, are you speaking to that one too, Jesse?
No, these are just all the bylaws.
So that's
On the
inferior
agenda.
in what we've already done?
No, we will need a motion to approve each bylaw.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve the 13.2.
Interim tax levy. Motion to approve the tax levy, yes.
Okay. Councillor Limeshead, Councillor Armstrong. That motion has.
Second. For the vote, all in favor?
Pardon?
Need to call for the vote?
Yep.
All in favor?
All in favor. They're switching horses on me midstream here, you know, you can. Borrowing bylaw. Do we need a motion, please? Councillor Lambshead?
Motion to support.
Motion to support. Can we call for the vote? All in favor? And that has carried. Amend Economic Development Advisory Committee terms of reference. Motion, please.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, and that was, who said that?
Councillor Lambshead.
Councillor Lambshead,
Yep.
and the seconder? Councillor Franzen. I call for the vote. All in favor, that's approved. Fence viewer, motion to approve, I assume. Councillor Franzen, do you want to? Are you approving or?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Armstrong, call for the vote. All in favor, carried. Close up and sell on open road allowance, Brockbank, motion. Deputy Mayor Windover, Councillor Lambshead, call for the vote. All in favor, carried. Agreement with Greenview, a motion. Councillor Armstrong, is that a motion? Would you like to voice that motion to support? Councillor
Motion to approve.
Yep. Councillor Lambshead is the seconder. Call for the vote. All in favor, carried. Zoning bylaw amendment for file 1923 for Johnson. Motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Seconder, Councillor Franzen. Call for the vote. All in favor, carried. Now, do we have any business arising out of a previous meeting that anybody wants to bring forward? I think something that I didn't speak to, and that was the gentleman from the roads department who is ill, and I think we all want to wish him well. And I think, Terry, you probably got the longest relationship. You want to speak to that for a minute if you have any?
We just wish them well. We don't like to see any of our employees ill, and we just speedy recovery.
Tough time to be sick. Notices of motion, I don't think we have any. Information items. Adele, would you like to speak to this? It has to do with the library board.
Thank you, Mayor Clarkson. I just wanted to share some good news. A staff report will be coming forward to the next council meeting regarding the purchase and implementation of new building software to enable building staff to receive, review, and process building permits electronically. This will improve internal and external efficiencies with building department processes. I am very appreciative of building staff's time and efforts to make this improvement to service a reality. We anticipate the launch of this permitting system by the start of the second quarter or hopefully sooner, as staff training is starting later this week. The cloud permit building module has also been identified in the CAO's 2021 draft budget report, which was on today's agenda.
Thank you, Adele. The county has formed a new committee, and one of the things that's on it was looking at this because they're trying to get pretty much everybody in the county to be part of this. So Trent Lakes is actually ahead of the curve on this one, and staff who have identified this and the people who've gone to work on it deserve to be congratulated. It will save an awful lot of time and people going through records. I think once it gets up and operational, we should probably have the building department in to give us a little bit of a rundown as to actually how it does work, because it's pretty exciting stuff. So thank you, Adele. Yes, Jessica.
To you, Mayor Clarkson, I would just like to note that due to the unfortunate passing of Jack Clark, there will be a vacancy on the library board, and that will be advertised as permanent.
So if anybody knows of anybody who would like to be on that committee, by all means, send them staff's way. Councillor Armstrong, you had a question? I see you.
I did, just actually a piece of, thank you. Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Just a piece of information to share, and that is that the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry has issued a draft 10-year forest management report, and there's a very large area of Crown land within Cavendish that is scheduled to be logged over the next 10 years. It was in their 20-year plan. We are just looking at it to make sure that there is appropriate management of that old and mature hemlock stand that was earlier identified in that forest, and may or may not have a notice of motion to bring to the next meeting.
Okay. All right. I think you have a colleague in favor of that. I think Councillor Lambshead would like to be involved in that as well, would you not?
Well, we talk about it. We've talked about it, Carol.
Okay, because I know there's also, you know, the old, what do they call it? Ron, what do they call it? The county forest?
Okay, yeah.
That is owned by the county. I think they're sort of wrestling with some of that stuff as well. So we'll make sure that stays on the radar. Thanks for bringing that up. Now we're going into a closed session meeting to discuss personnel matters about identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local labor board, labor relations or employee negotiations, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Anyone that is listening or viewing the electronic meeting may remain on the line for when the council rises from closed session. I need a motion to go into closed, please. Deputy Mayor Windover and Councillor Lambshead, call for the vote, please. All in favor? That has carried.
May I?
Yes. Yes, I got you.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. Thank you. I know you do. You're doing great. I appreciate it. Can I ask that Jesse or Donna or somebody email the coordinates for getting into the closed meeting? I'm not sure I have those.
I don't think I have them either.
Through you, Mayor Clarkson, yes, I can resend. They were sent in the first email of your agenda, with your agenda. But I will find it and resend.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
minutes till they get hooked up? Or are we okay?
Yeah, we'll just,
Hooked up because
Can you hear me, Ron?
Yeah,
Perfect.
got it.
Nice.
The meeting is still live.
Thank you, Ann.
Is the mayor going to join us, or should we proceed with the quorum that we have?
I'm sure the mayor's trying, but we do have a quorum. May I get advice from our deputy clerk?
Perhaps we can give them just a moment to ensure the clerk is present.
Because I'm going to be late for
Okay.
my committee of
Yes.
adjustment.
Exactly.
Terry,
Yes.
we can't log on anyways. Like we're waiting as well to get to committee of adjustment too. So we have to get out of
correct.
we have to get out of this meeting before we can start another one.
Thank you very much, John.
Not a problem.
John, you can start the other meeting. It's in a different account.
Is it? Oh, okay. But without Terry present.
I'm not that important.
Right.
Oh, yes, you are.
So I may make the same recommendation, is that we move ahead.
Yes, let's go.
I think it would fall to you, Deputy Mayor Windover, to chair the meeting.
Okay, the business arising, no, where are we at?
That's where we're at.
We would need a motion to rise from
Exactly.
closed session.
Yes, we do.
Okay, the motion to rise.
I'll make that motion.
I will second that motion.
Carol, Terry, all in favor? Good, passed.
That motion is carried. Nice.
No, no's a motion. Did we? No, we already did that, didn't we? Huh? No's
I
a
will
motion.
make a motion that we adopt the minutes of the previous closed session agenda.
Okay, yeah. Terry,
I
Carol,
would second that.
all in favor? Passed. Okay. So
And
I will make a motion that we
Mayor Clarkson and I are
get out of
leaving.
here.
Okay, we probably couldn't do any of that without a clerk
I would
present.
make a motion. Yeah, I think I would make a motion.
Sorry, through you, we're just needing a motion to recess until 5:30.
Oh,
Okay.
Carol, Janet?
Oh,
Yes, good. Okay.
I
motion.
thought we were going to make a motion to adopt the confirming bylaw.
We
Then we
actually
will-
went through the whole,
We'll do that at the end.
We will recess in closed session, and then we will rise from closed session and do all business arising. We are just recessing closed session.
okay.
Okay.
Jesse,
Okay.
excuse me. Deputy Mayor opted to proceed with the meeting in the absence of the mayor and has already made a motion which has passed to rise from closed session and to adopt the minutes of closed session. I was unaware that you are not finished.
Okay, that's fine. We have gone through the closed minutes on the agenda and there were no changes, so that's fine. We will just now do a motion to recess.
Thank you.
Okay, so that motion was, Terry, did you put the motion? Councillor Lambshead?
A motion to recess.
Councillor Armstrong, seconder. And can we have the vote? All in favor? Carried.
We're recessing till 5:30.
Reconvene at 5:30.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
Kathy, who all is on the Committee of Adjustment?
Everyone?
Not everyone.
Is anyone out there?
Councillor Lambshead, the meeting
Yes.
is still live. If you could just
Yes.
give us a moment to get everyone else connected.
Okay, thank you.
Unmuted now.
Thank you. Big cheer there, thanks. You, Terry?
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah, good boy. Did you pass everything tonight there?
No, I don't think we did.
No, no.
We certainly give it a good look over.
Hi, Councillor Lambshead and Deputy Mayor Windover. We do have a quorum here, so I'm going to ask that we reconvene the closed session and go back in. So we'll need a motion to go into closed.
Sure.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Windover, Councillor Lambshead. Can we call for the vote? All in favor. The vote cast, I guess.
Okay.
Carried.
No,
Now we need a motion to go back into closed.
That was the motion to go back.
we just
That
did
was
that.
it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now I can find my way back.
We got Peter everywhere.
We have to go back to the meeting.
You here, Terry?
Yes, I am.
Oh, he's good. Boy, you're here again, yeah. You got that all straightened out, eh?
I've done it enough today. I should be getting good at it. We are
I'm
being
here, but I know
recorded.
you can't see me yet.
And we are being recorded, so it's nice to know that.
Carol, you're here audio, right?
Yes, my webcam is spinning. I can't seem to get it turned on. So maybe we can just go without without that and do audio.
And
There's three of us.
Councillor
Let's get over with.
Franzen, I see you in here, but you are muted and your webcam's off.
Can the three of us get this over with? Yeah. Oh, there's
there we
Peter.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, everyone.
Now we need a motion to rise from closed, right?
Correct.
Okay, can I have a motion to rise from closed, please? Deputy Mayor Windover, Councillor Lambshead. Can we have the vote? All in favor? Carried. Now, do we need a vote to go back into regular council?
Now, if I could, we'll have a motion to defer the items relating to section 239 to B and D, identifiable individual and labor relations, to the January 27th meeting.
Okay, Councillor Armstrong and Deputy Mayor Windover. Can we have the vote? And that vote is carried. Now, do we need a vote to go back into regular meeting, or are we there?
We are in regular
We're in
meeting.
regular.
There.
Okay. Terry, have you got a motion you want to bring forward?
Yes, I'm going to probably stumble through it, but I'm sure it'll be written
Well,
down
Jesse
properly.
Jesse can
Jesse
read it
said.
off if you like. She wrote it down.
That council directs Councillor Lambshead and Councillor Franzen to initiate discussions with the PR Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee and the Buckhorn Community Center about the possibility of a viability study for the revitalization of the Buckhorn Sports Path.
I make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Can we have the vote? And that motion has passed. Now, do we need a confirming bylaw?
Yes.
We need, okay, and Councillor Lambshead, Deputy Mayor Windover. Can we have the vote, please? And that has passed. Now we need a motion to adjourn.
Oh.
Oh, everybody's doing it. Councillor Armstrong, she's got the biggest wave.
Oh, Jesse, could you email me that motion? So I have a copy of it?
Yes, I will, Councillor Franzen.
And
Okay,
me also
appreciate
too, just so I can take that to the committee meeting.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got, Carol is the maker of the motion. The seconder, this is for adjournment. I'll adjourn it.
Whatever.
Vote, please.
We're done.
We're done.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Drive carefully. It's icy out there.
Yes, please.